Hello and welcome to episode 140 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the immortal yeast, Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al.
We'll call it Operation Spicy Lube.
This week's episode, we catch up after hiatus with some news and nuggets and an oddly specific quiz, all before diving into our flick of the week, The Old Guard. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
The immortal yeast, I like that.
Yeah, I was just thinking that maybe going forward, that's all I really have to do is just put yeast at the end of anything generic, and that could be your nickname.
Well, I like that, both of us, we don't always use something directly from the movie, but that we often do.
Yeah.
And so that was a good play on the wild yeast with the immortal yeast in this case.
Right. I do think that maybe we should, when we do inevitably bottle and sell your beer, on the description, it could say whatever we want it to say. I think it should have ancient grains and immortal yeast.
Made with real ancient grains and immortal yeast. Sorry, I will more on this later when we get to news and nuggets and what we're watching specifically, but I finished finally the second season of The Politician, and Bette Midler consistently cracked me up.
She was solid.
The Operation Spicy Lube really got me.
The Operation Spicy Lube is a tremendous call out from that season, but my particularly favorite part is the whole Geronimo thing, the monologue of how he feels empowered when he's wearing it. It's so good.
More on that later. We're drinking industrial arts. We're off to a fantastic start after my computer crashing and I can't speak. Industrial Arts Brewing Company. Yes, farms. Yes, beer.
Yes, Al.
I'm going to just continue to read phrases. New York. State grown. Hazy. India Pale Ale. It's exactly how it is on the can.
It is a list of facts, indeed. And no other information.
6% alcohol by volume, 1 pint. Everything in snippets of 2. Or I guess couplets, maybe? Well, couplets are lines, not words. Whatever.
Sure. Industrial arts, they do all the tools, right? Like the wrench, the pocket wrench, the socket wrench, the
wrenches. It sounds like wrenches.
The wrenches, yeah.
Yeah, I think basically the entire brewery is built around the concept of erector sets.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Well, no, that's just what I'm throwing out from what little.
I thought you were serious, and I really wanted to go.
Well, you said wrenches, and so I've seen pictures. It's very like steampunk, which has been like a thing for
ever
modern breweries. Like Dogfish Head has some like that weird like mobile or whatever that fucking display is in front of it.
Okay.
For whatever reason,
dude, erector set. I haven't thought about that toy in a very long time. That thing was fun, but at the same Christmas that I got that toy, I got another toy with a fake soldering iron, and it was, I think we might have talked about this on the show before, but it's basically like this giant plastic shell of a truck, and you use this fake plastic solder to put all of these little things on it, like doors and guns and all this stuff, and then you just slam it into things, and it breaks into a million pieces, and you put it back together.
Oh my god.
It was awesome.
It's funny you mentioned that. I don't 100% remember talking about that in this show. I definitely have mentioned erector sets on this show before, and it was one in which we had a guest. I don't recall the guest, and they thought I was making a dick joke.
That's fair.
I don't remember who it was. It might have been Gary.
It's a fine line for sure.
I don't remember.
I could hear Gary's laugh around erector set. That's...
But Industrial Arts is, I think it's across the river from me. It's probably like half an hour or so from me in New York. Skill, I want to say, or maybe it's Beacon. It's one of those.
Okay.
I think I've had like one of their beers before. I know my brother's had some. I know some of my friends have had some.
Yeah.
I'm not super familiar with them overall.
What I've had I like, so let's give this one a taste, shall we?
Cheers.
Cheers. I tried to hit the microphone to make it clink, and I just muted the microphone.
I was waiting for the clink. I was like, I try to do it when I have the ability to, but I didn't have anything glass near me. And you usually bail us out, so it doesn't matter.
Sure.
And that was the one time you didn't.
it just immediately went dead silent. How is this beer?
No one will even know, because apparently your thing just tightens all the silent.
That's true. That is true.
It's pretty tasty. It's a break from the many juicy IPAs that we've done in the past year. This is a more straight up, tried and true IPA.
A little bit more of that like actual bitterness that is actually kind of nice.
Yeah, but not an overwhelming amount.
Not the punch you in the mouth bitter, but the tasty bitters. It's good. It's this is not my favorite of theirs, but it's
got a nice creamy mouthfeel.
It definitely does. I'm more concerned with. I don't know. I feel like I'm operating at 80% of what all of my beer is going to taste like on account of it went real warm for a while there. But it's so far it's so good. This one seems to be holding up.
Fuck you, Hurricane Isaias.
Man, that sucked. If you've noticed, we are 2 episodes out now because of that.
Well, that was only responsible for one of the episodes. I don't recall exactly what happened the first time.
Hey, I didn't say that it was responsible for the first time. I said that we're 2 out because of it.
Well, the funny thing is, I was thinking about it the other day, too. I was like, man, this really sucks. It's been a while since we missed 2 weeks.
Sure.
And I was like, what the fuck happened the first week? I was like, I remember Anthony went out of town for a couple of days, but we were supposed to have recorded before that. So what happened that the rescheduled date wasn't going to work? And I honestly can't remember.
It's not clear to me. I'm sure there's a text chain, but I don't care enough to look.
No, God, no.
God, no.
It doesn't matter. See, this is what you expect to get from us when you come back from a hiatus. Our hiatus episodes, we talked about pretty recently, too. I think we did it on the show. Maybe it was just me talking, but our hiatus episodes, our hiatus breaking episodes tend to be pretty strong. And
they are. It almost makes me wonder if we should turn this into a 2-week or 3-week show just because we come back with gold. We're refreshed.
I think maybe we just need to work/build in periodic breaks.
Oh, I thought you were just going to say, I just think we should be better the other time.
Well, there's that too. But, no, I think we should maybe consider
which is fair.
Like a week off. Like not every month per se, but maybe every other month. Just to give the creative juices a chance to...
We could do something equivalent to like when I had half days on the first Friday of every month. We could do no episode that week.
Ooh, or even just strip down episode.
Ooh. Half episode Friday.
Yes.
Okay.
Also,
we just arbitrarily. I just arbitrarily edit the second half of whatever we recorded out, and then in 4 weeks you get that.
Well, I mean, it's also coinciding with my work schedule has become much more agreeable, and specifically the last 2 weeks, Wednesday is being designated as my light day. Both because my boss's boss's boss wants me to work less hours, wants everyone to work less hours, but wants me specifically to work less hours, both to control their costs and also so they don't kill me, because they do value me, and they're like, we need you to not leave.
Fair enough.
So Wednesdays are a good day for recording.
Wednesday it is.
I feel pretty good.
I have a tighter timeline. I have a tighter turnaround time, but honestly, it's not really that big of a deal.
Well, I mean, it's definitely not as tight as the Thursday recording one.
No, those are tough. Those are tough. That's when it publishes sometime around 4:00 because I don't get a chance to do it in the morning.
Or
then I do
Sunday.
It very quickly during lunch, and then I forget to actually hit publish, and I go, God damn it. And then right before my meeting, I go, let me just go in there real quick and hit publish.
But anyway, back to this beer. It is pretty tasty. I enjoy it. It's definitely something I would drink. Industrial Arts, if I recall, is kind of expensive, though, so I don't know that I would necessarily pay for it.
Yeah, I think it was like a 14 jam for 4.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So I don't know that this is worth the cost.
That's toll beer prices right there.
Yeah, like you want it to be exceptional when you're paying that. It's the issue I had. You and I had talked about a few weeks ago, Other Half Brewing, right?
I think so.
And so my friend Mike is a huge fan of Other Half. He talks about it all the time. And he sent me something, actually now it's getting on to like 2 weeks ago now. He sent me something that they are now shipping across the state. And I was like, I got to look into buying it. Promptly forgot to. But they are similarly priced. I was like, man, it better be as good as you've been fucking holding it out to me, because like a 4-pack of Newburgh, like brown or cream, is like $9. which is a pretty reasonable craft price.
I'd say, that's a deal
for a 4-pack of pints.
I dare say a bargain.
And for something like Terra Boss, which is really high alcohol, that one is like 12 or something like that.
Sure. Sure.
And so that's fine if you're gonna have that sort of striation. But if 14 is what you're getting in at the ground floor, and potentially better stuff is more, that's a tough sell.
Yeah. On
a consistent basis, at least.
I think that's fair.
This is solid, but not this is not better than something like Brown or Cream from Newburgh. So I'm not going to pay 50% more.
Right. So where are you coming in on the score?
You're throwing the Thuckles to me.
Yeah.
I would give this...
We're coming at this score Thuckles first.
I would give this 2 Thuckles, which would be one thumb if we're going to do, the lowest common denominator. Yeah.
Is it like it's a 2 Thuckle situation where the cuts are not so even, so it doesn't really add up to a thumb? Is that where?
It's are we getting in a situation where if you have partial dollar bills that you can redeem some of them but not all of them, because this one is more than 50% of a bill, but this one is less than 50% of a bill.
Right. I'm just a bill. Yes,
I'm like Capitol Hill.
That's so good. I think by converting to a completely Thuckle system, our 5-point scale goes to 10. Right? Is that what we're working with now?
Well, kind of no, because we have we have -4 Thuckles and +4 Thuckles and 0, so it's technically a 9.
Whoa, you can go negative on the Thuckle?
Well, thumbs down, Thuckles down.
Sure.
Because it's not 0 to
1 down, 2 down, nothing. 1 up, 2 up is 5. 5 points.
Yeah, I guess so. So
it's just gonna be 9. Thuckle math. It's not. It's 9. Oh yeah, I guess you're not going 0.
Yeah, the 0 doesn't double.
That's fair. It's a 9-point scale.
Yeah.
The game is rigged.
Well, that's what happens when you work in base Thuckle math.
Oh my god, what is happening? Okay,
it's the hiatus episode is getting to us.
You said 1 and a Thuckle. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
No, you said 2 Thuckles. 2 Thuckles. So 1 thumb. All right. I think I'm with you on that. I was going to give this a thumb as well. Cool. All right. Well, thank you. Yes, Farms. Yes, beer. Yes, Thuckles. Shall we get into some...
to hijacking the show, because I told you I was going to do that.
Oh, it's happening. It's happening.
Well, you told me that I'm basically running the News and Nuggets.
Yeah, I did.
So, so Anthony is going to just, if he wants to muse about something right now, he can. I got to take my headphones off real quick, so.
Buttercream, crock skin buttercream. What size is the waist? Let's go.
Doing something that I rarely do on the show.
Oh my god, he's putting a shirt on. Oh, it has arrived! It has arrived! I'm so excited. You have to stand up, though. I can't see it.
This arrived in time for...
Oh, it's so good!
This arrived in time for our episode, the first one that we missed. So this is the Juice Boss or the Terra Boss, I forget which one it was, tank top. It's actually phenomenal. I'm always
so good
of buying/wearing tank tops because...
Same.
Actual tank tops, because a lot of times they have the really big arm openings that come down to your fucking ribs.
Yeah.
That I don't like. And also this is nice. It's a fitted one. It's not one of those big fucking, it looks like they just slapped 2 pieces of fabric together. It fit perfectly. It's an XL.
Oh man.
And we're both wearing these to the beach on Saturday.
Oh, thank God. I mean, of course. Yeah.
So 100%. You're going to get Newburgh beer on Saturday. You're going to get your Newburgh, Terra Boss, Juice Boss. I forget which one it is. He's sailing on a fucking boat.
This is so good.
It's got a suite.
What a day. What a day. This is awesome. Thanks, cuz.
So,
does it come with empanadas?
What's that?
Does it come with empanadas?
Oh,
Are you going to try to get empanadas for the beach day?
Oh, no. I could try and stop there and pick them up. I don't know if they if they'll sell them carry out cold.
Sure. I'm also not sure where I stand on 9 a.m. empanadas, but...
Well, no, but you could stick them in the cooler and take them home.
Oh, no, I can't. You think I'm going to wait to eat those?
You're going to eat cold empanadas?
You just see me with my stomach out on the beach, just housing an empanada. This is a bad idea.
You're going to eat cold Saturday morning beach empanadas?
Oh, man. I'm really excited about this tank top.
Right?
And I hate tank tops. It's the thuckle of shirts.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
what it
either, but
is.
this is the good kind. Like, it's fitted. Yeah. It's got the, like, it's not, like, tight, but it's got the snug fit, like, sleeveless, like armholes. Like, this is a good tank top, because the last time I bought a tank top, like, a decade ago, it was the the basketball jersey type one, but, like, not fitted.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, like, a fucking sail. Like, your arm is swimming in, like, free air. Like, I
don't like that. I don't like that at all. That's awesome. I'm excited.
This is a good tank top.
Sweet. Oh, man. What a gem. Let's get into some news and nuggets.
Okay.
So fun fact.
2 weeks worth of... We have 2 weeks
worth. 2 weeks worth, and I also did not coordinate with you before the show to find out how many, what we're talking about. So this is just Al doing the news.
Well, I realized that, like, 1 or 2 of the things I had on there I didn't even, like, actually like.
Sick.
So we don't have as many as I feared. Also, none of them are from the past, like, 4 days. So I've been accumulating them over the past.
So they're news adjacent.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of them is a pretty long discussion point. So.
They're stale nuggets.
So, well, I have a nugget, a discussion point, and then some what we're watching and such and so forth. So,
I'm sorry, were those 2 more things to put on the list so that I can keep track?
No, actually,
such and so forth, or is that one?
Okay. Such and so forth.
And so forth.
It's a couplet or whatever we established that thing was. What do you want first?
Give me the new.
Okay, I also lied. Some of these are more than one of these is news. So. Okay, here's the news. More than 80% of the U.S. can see Tenet in theaters on September 3rd.
That's like the text message that I got about how much of us are going to get power back by Friday.
Well, so the funny thing is, the headline was more than 80% of the U.S. can see Tenet in theaters on September 3rd, right? So in the headline, Tenet is in 1 quotation mark to denote a title, but I want to put 2 quotation marks in the word can. Like, sure, many people can see it.
Right.
Will they?
Right.
And not because the movie won't be excellent, because I'm sure it will be, but who in their right... Well, I'll tell you who in their right mind is people not wearing masks. Who in their right mind is going to sit in a theater to watch this movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The people who aren't wildly, ragingly stupid who want to kill us all, who is going to see this movie? Now, contention. And I feel like I should have heard this somewhere in the world. Only noticed it because I, drove past it. One of the indoor movie theaters near me put a big fucking screen on the front of their building. And they're going to do parking lot drive-in now. Yeah. Smart. Also, why did they not advertise this?
Oh, no, that's a good point. Yeah, I went to one recently and it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like, it makes sense if you have such a parking lot where it's available. Sure. Your revenue will be much lower than it would have been if you had a normal movie theater. But it's greater
than zero.
Yeah, greater than zero. People, can be working there. People can, go watch the movies and buy tickets and all that. It is in such a place where no one... The one that I saw is in such a place where no one can, like, park across the street and, like, pirate it. So, like, it's in, like both directions to get into the parking lot is, like, a long driveway. But, like, you can see the building from the road, but at such an angle that you wouldn't actually be able to watch the movie. So, to be, like, facing, like, head on, you wouldn't actually... There's no way you could accomplish pirating the movie. So, they actually have an ideal setup for this sort of.
That's fair. I actually thought about that with the one that I went to, is that I could have just not gone in and turned to that FM station that was playing it.
Yeah, like your Cinemark, you could park it in Costco.
Well, that's true. Well, this wasn't there. This was at a like a big campus, like, office building area that they decided to actually do something with while this was all going down, which was pretty brilliant. Okay. But yes, there was plenty of places that I could have probably just stopped. I guess something about private property. I guess they could tell you to leave, but
they could.
Yeah. Will they?
I will read us a snippet of this article. This was from July 30th, which is the day after. I remember why we couldn't record. My dad's birthday was the day we were going to record.
Oh, happy birthday, Uncle Pete.
There's no shortage of social media naysayers, but Christopher Nolan's Tenet has many reasons to keep its September 3rd domestic opening. And I think the word keep is funny. Was it 8 times?
Right.
Granted, if Warner Bros. had to wait for New York and Los Angeles to open, that date would be highly unlikely. Those regions are traditionally so key that many films initially open in those two cities alone. But with Tenet, we can reasonably expect the inverse. It will open almost everywhere except in those major metropolitan areas. As Warner Brothers announced, Tenet will show in, quote, select cities. Not all. They know it won't initially play everywhere, including the top 2 markets in the country. Given COVID-19, all is subject to change. But nowadays, that asterisk must follow any long-range planning. Nolan's film is scheduled to open in 50 territories between August 26th and 28th, including Germany, Canada, the United Kingdom, France, Italy, Korea, and Australia. Other major countries like Russia and Japan follow soon thereafter. China has also approved the film for release, albeit without a date. That's kind of all of the important bits of this.
Sure. Man, it's such a bummer that we haven't seen it already. There's that parallel universe where we already have already done an episode on it is... I want to be there. I want to be there.
Forget about just that. It's hard to forget about that. We were both super excited for it. But I was in a store for work the other day, and there was a little cardboard merchandise shipper for like Frito-Lay's type stuff, and it was themed with Wonder Woman, and it said in theaters June 4th. I was like, wow, that was supposed to be all the way back in June. Oh my
God.
I was like, I completely forgot.
That's
that was like a summer movie, like early summer movie. Totally forgot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's lame.
Like, I actively remembered that we missed that movie. Like, I thought it was supposed to be like now, like not 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm kind of bummed about. I mean, I'm obviously the whole thing is a bummer.
Oh,
I don't know. I would pay a large sum of money to watch it at home, though, if they wanted to, if it make that available to me. But
obviously, I would as well. Speaking of paying a large sum of money to watch a new movie at home, Mulan, to be released on Disney Plus, $29.99, I believe, is the price. What are your thoughts on this?
Dangerous territory.
How so?
It's on Disney Plus.
I believe it'll be offered through Disney Plus. I think you have to purchase it for $29.99 to watch it.
And then you have it?
Yes, I believe so. Not 100% sure. I don't have a story up right now. I can find one.
The dangerous territory aspect comes in at some point in 8 months. Will it be free, or is it officially you have to buy it for this amount of money if you want to watch it, and the only way to buy it is through Disney Plus?
I'm going to guess that they will keep a long lead time until you can access it.
Okay.
Because they're going to want you to pay for it, but then everything else subsequently on Disney Plus. And my cursor froze again. Never mind.
Sure.
I'm not doing the computer browser thing.
I'm okay with paying to see it brand new like that right now. I'm happy to pay for movies. My concern comes into play with the way that Disney has done like vault things in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's going to set some sort of odd precedent for like Disney, like theoretically, in about 9 months from now, you would have been able to watch Mulan on Disney Plus for free. Not for free, but through your subscription price.
So here's a story on The Verge. How much will it actually cost to watch Mulan on Disney Plus? This was from today, actually.
New?
Yeah. Mulan is set to premiere on Disney Plus on September 4th, and it comes with a hefty price tag of $30. In reality, for non-Disney Plus subscribers who want to watch the studio's live-action adaptation of Mulan, it's actually going to cost $37. A new trailer for Mulan clears up any confusion around the cost of watching the film, mainly that in order for people to watch the movie, they have to be active Disney Plus subscribers. Mulan will belong to Disney Plus's, quote, Premier Access shelf, a new rental platform that acts as an iTunes or Amazon movie store within Disney's own streaming service. For current subscribers, Mulan will cost $29.99. For non-subscribers, a Disney Plus subscription purchase of $6.99 per month is necessary on top of the $29.99 fee for the film itself. But keeping the film also requires an active Disney Plus membership, which means spending a month in perpetuity. If you cancel your subscription, Mulan disappears with it. It doesn't carry over to other video services through Movies Anywhere, which is a departure from how Disney usually treats video purchases. That means much less flexibility for the customer. If you cancel your subscription but reactivate Disney Plus later, in time for a new season of The Mandalorian or of WandaVision, Mulan should be in your library, but The Verge has reached out to Disney for confirmation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not okay to me. That's okay for me right now with the way things currently are, but I feel like that's something that they're going to stick with.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I feel like it's an offering that they might. Not only is it's good for them right now, right, because it's a way to get the movie out that they spent this money on that they need to start recouping on. But are they going to continue to do this premiere shelf thing? And if so, in the future, is it going to be that if I unsubscribe from the service, I don't have it? Like that it just seems a little odd to me.
Yeah, I would agree that it would feel like you should be able to hold on to the purchase price.
Right.
Thing.
It's more money than the actual physical thing would be when you purchase it in the store.
Yeah, but I imagine it's because they're doing an accounting of the fact that, it's predominantly going to be parents bringing the children to see the movie, right?
Sure. So you're talking about four like a family of four potentially.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm actually okay with the price because I get the thinking behind it.
I'm okay with the price. I'm not okay with just because I'm not getting the theater experience. I'm not any of that stuff. I'm not okay with purchasing it and then not owning it. It's a weird thing because I'm okay with the subscription.
Yeah. Well, actually though, I'm kind of coming around on it because think about it. If you buy 4 movie tickets, you don't get permanent access to that movie experience.
No, you don't. But you do get to go to, I don't know. For me, what I'm paying for is the experience in the theater.
Sure.
When I purchase a movie to watch it at home, what I'm paying for is the ownership of the movie and my ability to watch it wherever and however I want.
Agree, but that's second purchase, right? That's
fair. That's fair. Okay. Here's the thing, though. I feel like if they had made it $60 and it's mine, I would be more okay with it. So
you'd be okay if they offered 2 options. $30, you get it. If you cancel, you lose it. Because think about it.
That's fair. Yeah, I'd be okay with 2 options.
Because, to be honest, they're kind of making a bet here, right? That you'll be willing to hold on to. And there's actually further down in the article, they're saying that this is potentially, the thinking is that they seem to be trying to eliminate the churn of subscribers who are going to subscribe for a month to watch Mandalorian, cancel it for the rest of the year, and then subscribe again when the Mandalorian comes back, or WandaVision, or whatever your show. Pick your show that someone's going to tune in for. If you risk losing this, that you may not want to do that anymore, which I guess kind of makes sense. And think about it, like again, it's first purchase, right? If you're watching a movie in the movie theater, you wouldn't have access to it after watching it the first time. This is actually a value when you think about it that way.
Sure.
I could watch this again. The kids loved it. We can watch it again in a month if they really want to watch it, or tomorrow, or whatever the fuck they want to watch it, right?
Yeah, it's weird. Yes, I completely agree with you. I do think that for me personally, I would be more willing to spend the extra money for the ownership of the well, it's not even an own. It's like a license, right? You get like some sort of digital license for it. It's not even like you own the thing.
Yeah, because if you want to port it to something like putting it on Plex, because you have a digital library. Sure,
which I'm pretty sure technically you're not even really allowed to do.
Which doesn't make sense to me. Like if you have legally purchased something, that's a legal platform to use for things you've purchased. Why you wouldn't be able to port it directly to that? Like that doesn't
100%
make sense.
I agree. Which is also why I have no qualms about it.
So actually, there is something interesting down here. In some ways, the subscription requisite for Mulan seems to be an obvious attempt to lower Disney Plus churn. Churn, which refers to subscribers canceling their plans, is something that all streaming platforms have to deal with, and the best way to combat people leaving is having a consistent river of new content. Netflix, for example, sees churn as an inevitable part of its business, but there's consistent content. Disney lacks that frequent flow of new entertainment, and the churn rate is noticeable. New data from analytical firm Antenna found that people who signed up for Disney Plus, specifically for Hamilton, were, quote, 1.5 times as likely to cancel Disney Plus within the first month compared to other subscribers.
Yeah, no, that's fair. They're in a weird spot because they make their bucks for the actual movies that are released and hit theaters, and then they make them again. They were making them again on the turnaround of buying the disc or, well, originally the tapes, but like, a Blu-ray or whatever now. But it's probably better for their best case scenario is being able to release in the theater and people subscribing rather than purchasing the disc.
Sure.
That's their best case scenario, in my opinion, as a economics expert.
It's funny it's funny you mentioned the Disney Vault earlier, and as a kid, I remember being frustrated with that idea, lacking the expertise in economics, as you put it, to understand it. Now, it's actually pretty offensive to me, the enforced scarcity of that, where it's
100%.
It's compelling you to feel like, oh, I have to go buy that because I'll never have the chance to buy it again. And when will I ever get to see it again? Hopefully, Blockbuster.
And for all of those people that felt that way and scooped up the movies, to now be told that you could spend this amount of money per month to just have access to the entire library, oof.
You know, the Venn diagram of those people have to be just two overlapping circles, right?
Oh man, I don't know. Whatever. I'm on board. I'm starving for a new new movies. I mean that in like I know there's hundreds of thousands of movies that I haven't seen, but there was something special about seeing something new this past couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I don't know what it was, and I'm like, I'm totally on board to buy this and watch it. I have no problem giving money to the movies.
We have a wonderful oasis, right, of this week and next week. We know for a fact are new releases, which it seems like a crazy time right now. And to be perfectly honest, most of the movies being released right now are shit, intentionally, seemingly. Because a lot of it's like direct to video. I still am curious about the economics of a Netflix movie.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they get paid in proportion to how many people stream it, and especially like in the first week or 2 weeks or whatever, right? But man, it still seems like a weird, shadowy business model, and Netflix intentionally doesn't give us those numbers, which always raises alarm bells for me.
Sure. And anytime you question it, they could just go, well, we're not MoviePass. And you're like, that makes sense.
It's so odd to me. Like, I understand that there are some arcane accounting tricks that Hollywood has gotten away with, right, in the budgeting of a movie and what the budget is, and then they don't really report what the marketing budget is, and that often eats into the profits, but they also sometimes make a big deal about the fact that the gross receipts is so much bigger than the budget and all that, but then there's also back end, which isn't accounted for in the budget and all that, but it's still, like, in the end, the math bears out, right? Like, if you work hard enough, you can find out what any of these movies costs and what it roughly makes. With Netflix, I have no idea what they cost, and I have no idea what they make.
But here's another one. Do you know a single person that doesn't have access to it?
What do you mean?
Do you know anybody that doesn't watch something on Netflix?
No, I'm just
making the point of, like, they are a weird outlier. Like, I feel like there's just like this strange thing. Everybody has, like, if you could be like, oh, I watched this thing, it's great, it's on Netflix, you should go watch it. You're not going to be met with, oh, I don't have Netflix. Well, for whatever reason.
They were first.
Yeah, I know, and it's crazy though, because like if you really think about that in the grand scheme of things, even though I'm not convinced that there's not just one Netflix account that everyone's using. It's amazing that, like, everybody has it. I've never come, and I know I'm speaking hyperbolically. I know there are people that don't have it, but anybody that I've talked to, and I was in like, oh, like you should watch this thing, or like it's on Netflix, or they'll be like, hey, you should watch this thing. It was on Netflix. I would be like, yeah, like the no access to Netflix has never been part of the conversation, which is crazy.
Not for about 10 years, right?
Which is insane. And think about that, 10 years of that, the revenue. Holy crap. And it's quietly gone up in price. And people went, meh, and then they just ignored that.
Well, the thing is, we have one 4K TV in the house. Actually, now, technically two. When inevitably, and this could be next week, it could be 2 years from now, but when inevitably the projector becomes a 4K projector,
yes,
that's when I'm gonna finally spring for the 4K package of Netflix.
Sure. Oh, how about this? Netflix comes with my phone subscription.
Really?
Yeah, I don't pay for Netflix.
Well, because I didn't pay for the first year of Disney Plus. That came with my phone subscription.
Yeah. Nope. Netflix part of it.
That's pretty sweet. And well, you also had a year of Apple TV, right? So
I still do. Still have not watched anything on it.
Yikes. Well,
I'm running out of time. I've got like a few months left.
Well, I'm kind of in the same place with Disney Plus, where I've definitely not gotten my quote-unquote money's worth, because like I watched The Mandalorian, great.
Sure.
I've put on a couple of other movies, and that's it.
I got all of my money's worth when I watched The Rocketeer in high definition. So let's be clear.
On to, well, actually, while we're talking about having all of these options and new movies and old movies, whatever, you said we didn't have new releases, but there's 100,000 other things I could watch.
Sure.
This is just kind of a note, and we can talk about it as long.
Okay.
So what we're watching.
Is there a whale upstairs?
No, that's the barstool chairs moving.
Got it.
They slide across the floor, and they make a lot of noise. I
feel like Dory in Finding Nemo.
So, this past Saturday,
I would also really hope that I have to go back and listen to it. I really hope that for whatever reason the microphone's not picking it up and we just sound crazy.
No, it is, because that one was loud enough that I heard it in my headphones.
Okay.
This past weekend, my brother was out, my sister was out, and me and my parents were looking for something to watch on, I want to say Saturday night, but I don't remember exactly. And we were just doing the thing that you do. It's known as like Netflix scroll, right? Where you just scroll.
Oh, yeah, 100%. That's what you're doing this evening.
Sure. But I do put kind of a hard cap on myself of 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's a smart move.
Within 10 minutes, any of the things were, because, Netflix scroll is no, maybe, no. Whatever, the first substantial maybe is, that's what I end up going to. I kind of made, a soft rule for myself. That's what I do.
That's a good idea. I just end up with this crazy list that I've added things to. And then that's now become part of the scroll.
Yeah, which
what's in here?
I mean, I have it on my phone in my browser. Now that I don't have that much time to read stuff, I have, a huge, number of tabs open where it's well, I definitely want to read that, but not right now.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm in the mood for.
Sure.
So we decided, because we now officially, 2 weeks ago, transferred over from HBO Go to HBO Max.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Well, because we have HBO. We've had a subscription to HBO forever. And with DirecTV, we have free access to HBO Max.
Sure. I was more saying that my device doesn't have an HBO Max app yet. My Roku.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's weird.
My TV had it.
Unless I need to manually update something, I'm pretty sure it's automatically updated.
You might need to update it, because I have a smart TV. It's a Samsung, and it was in the Apple store.
My TV downstairs has it.
Oh,
my Apple TV has it. My smart TV has it. Upstairs is an older LG with a Roku attached to it, and it does not have it.
You might need to do some sort of update to the Roku then, if it has its.
That's fair.
Because my the Samsung had it. But anyway, we were scrolling through HBO Max, just the movies, and what a wild, gigantic library of movies available.
Well, it's a wild ride, for sure.
There are a million movies I've never heard of, and some that are fairly new, many that are quite old. A lot of them there's a lot of Japanese movies on there. Some of the ones that you hear about when people talk about the history of George Lucas and Star Wars, stuff like that, the old school, Akira Kurosawa and stuff like that type of movies.
Yeah.
Lone Wolf and Cub, which seemed to inspire The Mandalorian.
I gotta get into that stuff, because I feel like I'd really enjoy it. I just haven't gotten into it.
I'm curious to watch some of those Kurosawa ones that are mentioned often when talking about Star Wars. The one that was essentially, I forget which one it's called, but the one that seems to be a parallel to The Magnificent Seven. There's one that was like that. I forget which one it is. But we watched North by Northwest.
Oh, with the plane and the shooting? Yeah, that's cool. I've never seen that.
Everyone knows, right? Because I do have, it's been well documented on the show. I have the very long queue of movies to watch. I have a separate queue of that's shorter but still fairly long of classic old movies that I'd like to get around to watching. I moved through that one much slower than I moved through the other queue.
Sure.
North by Northwest was absolutely on that queue. I have never watched an Alfred Hitchcock movie before. So,
okay. That's cool.
I was really curious. Like, the one that really probably would have been on the top of my list is Vertigo. I'd like to see Psycho. I'd like to see The Birds, but Vertigo probably would have been number one. North by Northwest.
I don't think I'll ever be able to watch The Birds again and not think of Schitt's Creek. Listen to our cause.
The peak bit of joke for the whole Crows Have Eyes thing is the trailer with the tagline with the terrible grammar. The crows have eyes, and you better not look them in it. And the cadence is absolutely part of what makes it.
Oh, yeah. It's so good.
Anyway, we watched North by Northwest this week, and I guess my mom had actually seen it. My dad had not, which surprised me, and I had never seen it before. Really good movie.
Nice.
Absolutely was warranting of the hype.
Okay.
It was funny to see some of the things in it that, like, because that's part of why I want to watch these old classics. I mean, like, we are somewhat cinephiles, right? But I don't view it as a badge of honor thing where it's like, oh yeah, like I checked that box. I find curious with some of these old classic movies. When I get around to watching them, like, oh wow, that's the thing that has been parodied or emulated or had homages to it in like things that I love, and it's like, wow, that's cool to see the genesis of that idea. So
sure,
that whole Family Guy. So Dominic actually came in about halfway through the movie from where he was with his girlfriend's parents, and he was sitting down, and it was right before the airplane scene, and it was quite obvious to me that what was coming because he's in the middle of nowhere on this like dusty road and there's fields, and someone mentions, "Oh, look at those guys are out there like crop dusting. They make a pretty good living, assuming they don't crash." I think was the line or something like that. And I was like, "Oh, it's coming up." And like he had just came in and he like went to the bathroom and he was like, he was getting some stuff and I was like, "Dominic, come here. The scene from Family Guy is coming." He goes, "What?" It's like, the scene where they steal Passion of the Christ 2 from Mel Gibson with the airplane. Come on, it's about to happen.
What a sentence.
Right? Yes. So the funny thing was, so that whole thing happened. He's like, oh, wow, yeah. So I didn't realize that they ripped off the whole ending of that episode from the movie as well. The whole sequence on Mount Rushmore is also in that movie.
Right.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I knew that I had watched something about it. That's why that's the only reason I knew that there was more than just that. But it is very funny. And
I guess technically also the whole thing with the hotel room and sneaking in and stealing stuff, that's much more loose than the other stuff was.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I believe that episode was titled North by Northwest Quahog or something like that, or North by North Quahog or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Really good movie though. I definitely enjoyed my time.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna have to check that out on there then.
It had a young Martin Landau.
Okay.
I saw like his name in the thing. I was like, oh wow. And then he showed up. I was like, oh, that's clearly Martin Landau. The only time I've ever seen him is as an old man. Rounders.
Dude, I need you. This is on topic. I promise. The other day, and maybe this will transition into what we're watching. But when power was out and I stayed at my parents' house for a couple of days, we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Nice.
And I watching the movie, the beginning of the movie, I'm like, this guy's familiar. Who is this? And then
Alfred Molina?
I was like, wait a minute. Doc Ock?
Yep.
And looking up, I was blown away.
I remember the first time I noticed that was about like 10 years ago. I was like, oh my god, that's Dr. Octopus.
That's really, yeah. I was like, I would have never, like, would have never guessed it, would have never put it just for whatever reason, just happened to. I feel like it was only because of like the certain couple of scenes where it was really focused on his face that I realized it was him too.
Yeah.
I was just like, could have missed it again. I was like shocked. I was like, what is happening? This is great.
There's another one of those random ones in that movie. How well do you recall Hot Fuzz?
Not very well. I mean, I love the movie, but I don't know like scene for scene or anything like that.
Okay, so I believe. Well, you remember like the whole gist of the movie. Like,
yeah.
The neighborhood watch and all that.
Yes,
and it was all the key members of the town are involved in the conspiracy and all that. So You remember the priest in that movie?
Vaguely.
He's an older guy, obviously, at that time, and he has a conversation early when he meets the Simon Pegg character, whose name was Nicholas Angel. When he meets Sergeant Angel, and they're talking, and he says something about, are you a religious man? And he says, something about him being agnostic. And then later, they're talking, and he says, when they're having the big shootout at the end, and he goes, can we all stop this senseless violence? And he says, no. And he goes, and I think he has like pistols that pop out of his the billowy sleeves of his robe. That's Belloc from Raiders of the Lost Ark, the bad guy, the French guy.
Whoa. Okay. I can see that. That's so weird. Like that, I love that stuff. That's right? Really fun. Yeah. Oh man, that's really funny. Yeah, that's so cool. The Doc that now next time I watch it, I'm sure that'll get me. But the Doc Ock thing was really tickling.
Is that what you want to do? Do we want to do what we're watching?
Yeah, what are we watching?
I know I dipped my toe in the water.
Yeah, let's do it.
With that. So The Politician finally got around to watching,
which was a great choice.
You finished the whole season, right?
I believe it is a far better season than the first one, just because it's a different show.
It's funny because I disagree.
You like the first season better?
Yes, and the thing is, there was only 7 episodes in this season, right? I think there was 8 in the first season.
I don't really know. They're not long either way.
All I know is that the finale snuck up on me. I was like, I thought I had another couple of episodes, and I was like, oh wait, no, I'm watching the finale as we speak. Huh. Well, because all of a sudden they jumped really to the election, and I was like, oh, okay, this is happening in earnest now. So the first couple of episodes, I was trying to figure out why. It was fine, I liked it, but it didn't click for me the way the first season did, and I couldn't. Okay. It just felt off, and I didn't know what it was, and it took until the second half of the season for me to figure out what it was, and it took a long time for the emotional core of the season to develop. The first season is ridiculous, right?
Sure.
So over the top and ridiculous, fun and melodramatic, right? And depending on what scene you're talking about, what sequence you're talking about. But as crazy and ridiculous as the show got, there was a couple of really human storylines that grounded the ridiculousness.
Yeah.
There's spoiler alert for fairly early in the first episode of the first season of The Politician, there's River's suicide and the fallout from all of that.
Yeah.
There's the drama of Infinity's grandmother and Infinity's relationship and how Peyton has to interact with that. And there's his mother's impending divorce that develops over the course of the season. Those 3 storylines, to me, felt very human and grounding to the ridiculousness that happened without it. It allowed them to go so over the top and campy with some of the other things because they were anchored by those things.
You're right.
And the second season didn't have that until the pregnancy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's fair.
So the antics were fun, but I didn't ever feel emotionally connected to the second season until that. And the second half had a couple of storylines then ultimately that it didn't. Predominantly it's the drama between him and, oh my god, I can't remember his girlfriend's name now. I guess they end up ultimately getting married, but Peyton and
I can't think of her name either.
I can remember everyone else's name except for
I'm pretty bad with names, as you know, but yeah, that was not going to come to me.
But anyway,
isn't it a little odd, the name?
I don't know, because there's Astrid, there's Mac, there's James, there's Sky, there's
McAfee.
Yeah, Mac, McAfee, Mac, whatever.
Yeah.
I totally can't remember.
Alice. It's not a strange name.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even remember them saying her name, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the first time and then there ended up being a couple other things. I think
sure.
Around the same time, exactly the same time actually, was also where they stole from the Master of None playbook and they had the voter episode, which predominantly was about the mother and daughter, and the other main characters kind of ended up being in their orbit instead of the other way around, which is a really cool thing to do. That reminds me of the episode.
Like that High Fidelity episode.
Similar, yes.
But more of even another character that you haven't actually even been introduced to yet, which was a cool concept. I like that.
Yeah, it reminded me of season 2 of Master of None. Aziz and one of his friends are walking and talking in this shop on the street in New York City, and the camera just pans to someone they walk past, and it follows other people.
That's
just
cool.
Living in New York City. So it reminded me of that episode a lot. It was a really good episode. And so the pregnancy episode, where they find out about the pregnancy, is the episode before that, I think. And then it transitions directly into that. And those two ideas really helped to finally pull me into actually, on like a human level, caring about what's going on.
Gotcha.
Because up until that point, the first like 3 or 4 episodes, we don't have that emotional core. I don't feel the connection to it, which means the antics were fun, but feel like kind of fleeting. Like I don't see the purpose of them in a larger scope of things.
Yeah, that's fair. For me in particular, the second season, I totally get where you're coming from. I think that makes a lot of sense. I could see why that would be what you were drawn to more about in the first season. For me, it was more, I felt like the second season felt a little bit more consistent to me.
Yeah.
Which, whether it's not what specifically what you were looking for based on the first season, but the second season was, it was more of those antics, but it was like, I don't know, you got more time with it. And then like, I feel like I actually enjoyed going from that to like, the dramatically different episodes that capped it off. I kind of liked that, the way that it kind of crescendoed that way, which is, just different takes on it. I just found it. I found it a lot funnier because we kind of knew the characters. You didn't have to play the establishing game that you have to play in the first season, right? Where it's like, this is who this person is. Like we'll get to why they're acting this way. I feel like the first season is probably even more enjoyable to rewatch, knowing like who they are and how they act, and because they all play their characters very well.
Yeah.
No, I found the second season really funny. I also thought it was interesting how like in the first season they did this constant thing of like, it seems like Peyton's about to do something good, like he's turning around, and first time it's like, it's fool me once. And then the second time it's like, okay. And like the third time, like you still kind of want him to turn around and you're like, it's really happening this time. And then it's not, he's still kind of a dick. And then like, it kind of all comes crashing down. And then in the second season, when we go into it again, it's like, I'm a little bit more on guard, but he is starting to turn around a little bit more. And to the point of, yes, there's some more dips back into like, who he is, and his questioning himself and his practices and what am I really? How am I really? And then by the end of it, it's like, it almost seems like he's coming out of it on the right side of things. And the promise of where this can go in the third season makes me wonder, like, how are they going to end this show? Well, I'm very curious.
It's funny. There was something really important that happened late in the second season. So this is going to be kind of spoilers for like where the show goes, if you haven't watched any of it, or the second season at least. I was curious, as we were getting late in the second season, we're getting to the point where the actual results of the election is what's at hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was something really powerful that the show could have examined. When you consider what stories and themes that this show is trying to investigate, or what it seemed to me they're hinting towards as we've gone fully into a second season, I expected him to lose the election again.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe by losing rock, paper, scissors or whatever, but ultimately somehow...
Oh my god, that whole thing was ridiculous too.
Yes. And again, spearheaded by the absurdity of Bette Midler's Hadassah. Like, she was so great. Like, her researching how to cheat at rock, paper, scissors while filibustering in the middle of the thing, and then ultimately getting super excited for the idea of, no, coin, that's too ridiculous. But rock, paper, scissors, yes.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing about both sides trying to figure out how to win it and how to cheat at, and learning the game theory and strategy of playing rock, paper, scissors. Tremendous. There was something, because in the first season, it's kind of there nipping at the periphery. And the second season really reveals oh, they're throwing themselves headlong, it seems, into this whole idea of people failing up.
Mm-hmm.
And how that is really killing the society right now.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically in the United States right now. And it can't be lost that is a rich white guy who is continually failing up.
Right.
So I thought it would have been very powerful to have it. Now, I liked, ultimately, Dee Dee giving that speech, conceding to Peyton. It was a powerful moment in and of itself, and it was a great opportunity for her to be able to have a really big anchor moment where she's going to, like, let her heart out on the sleeve and just, like, you know, just have a strong monologue and all that. Like, it was fun, it was interesting, it was great. It wasn't as powerful as the show could have gone. And then I think when he's giving his acceptance speech, at that point they realized, oh, we kind of missed an opportunity. Like, we wanted to have this moment. Totally understood why they wanted to have that moment, because then they come out and literally say, well, you know, for someone who's supposed to have spent their whole life to, like, winning elections, like, I'm not very good at winning elections. And it's like, it's such a ham-handed way to do the thing that would have been so powerful if they let him lose and somehow still get the seat.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's how you deconstruct this issue. And it's not just a political thing, though, obviously, very obviously an issue with our political system, but it's also in business as well.
Sure.
That rich people, especially people who are born into these things, consistently fail their way to the top, and we let them.
Yeah. I do wonder, like, yes, I think like that's a good point. I think they could have made for an interesting take on it, and then also it would have made it a little bit more on the dramatic side than the more lighthearted tones that it ends on. However, I am curious if, like, because it could easily still turn into being a much darker ending of the series, when basically what's happened is he's been graced with this thing. It's now do something, like, do the good. You know, and, like, it's even more important that he does it now.
Yes, it's funny because you're right. It does. It struck a lighter path for a show that is at times a black comedy, and especially in the first season, you were mentioning, like, a lack of consistency, not in the negative per se, but it was a real roller coaster where it's like, we're gonna go, like, slapstick humor. We're gonna talk about the Haitian vote, and then it's Munchausen syndrome by proxy and suicide.
Right?
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, wow,
it's all over.
Schizophrenic almost, but somehow it works. It works. I would say that the core plot of the first season of we're running for, like, fucking student president, and someone would literally be willing to kill for that. You know, we're gonna run a professional campaign that would impress actual lifelong politicians, right? And coupling that with just the absurdity of what the stakes are. Like, that sort of farce is really fun and entertaining. I think they did go much lighter with the end of this season, as you said. But that sets up such a potentially dark finale to the show when that time comes, because...
Agreed.
What they have been examining, and they've kind of been dipping their toes in the water and are getting much more substantially. And I think, to a certain extent, twice they were guilty of this in this season, because the scene between him and his mother, where she explains to him the person he is, you've been doing a good job of showing us. Show us, don't tell us. Like, why do we need that level of hand-holding at that point?
I actually think there is one thing that I actually do love about that scene. And
the scene was good.
The concept, actually, that I really like is that in that scene, he is explaining, and I think this is what's really important for the character, and I don't necessarily know that there's a better way to explain it, is that I guess they do kind of a good job, but they have brought it up a couple times. Peyton knows, like, he knows what he's doing is not good things. And it doesn't bother him to do those things. It bothers him that it doesn't bother him. And I think that's a really cool concept to explore in the show.
Yes, but like you said, they do show you, right? When you watch...
But they do it so well that it's hard to specifically say it's like where he is. It's hard to actually put a point on it. I think that what they're trying to do is be like very clear of of how he's written, like who he is and what his actual issues are. I think that I almost feel like they're just trying not to stray away from it. They want to be clear, like, this is the story we're trying to tell.
My issue is, I think I would have been okay with that scene, but it feels guilty of the same sin that the what he says at the acceptance speech is, where they've been doing a really good job of showing us.
Sure.
So why do we have to come to a screeching halt for us to tell? No, keep showing us you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
You know, I think if that scene hadn't happened, I wouldn't have really clicked for me that they did the same thing. But no, when he fires McAfee, and it's a really emotional scene, and then they meet at the bar, and you realize it's all a ploy, and it was totally prearranged and cold-blooded. That's who he is.
Yeah.
And then to have to come back and tell... No, we saw that's what he is.
Well, no, I know, but...
You showed us very well. The scene with Alice where she leaves him, but she tries to reach out and give him a chance, right?
Yeah.
If I stay, and a moment comes down the line where it's time for you to put your life on hold for me, will you do it? The hesitation and the totally half-assed answer of yes, it shows you that he knows that's what she wants to hear.
Sure.
But he doesn't actually feel it when he says it. It's
right.
written well and performed very ably by him.
But I will say, though, I completely agree. That whole thing is explained very well through action and how they execute the scenes. But I feel like what doesn't come across is the stance that he knows internally that it's not good, but his actual internal conflict is that he's guilty for not feeling bad about that.
Yeah,
which is a very weird thing, and I don't know how you would explain that other than him saying it.
I think for me, the reason it stuck out to me as offensive to our intelligence is because it's coupled with the other scene, and those two scenes happen very close together.
I got you. That's fair. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Can we talk about one more thing on the politician before we move on?
Sure.
And that is that the second to last episode, the thumbnail of it is a picture of Gwyneth Paltrow's face, and the episode is titled "What's in the Box."
I didn't even notice that. But
so good,
really funny. I didn't even notice the episode title because I watched the last.
They just go, yeah. I wouldn't have noticed either unless I went, how many episodes are there left? And then braced myself when I found out there was only like one, and I was like, damn.
That's funny. That's
go watch The Politician, by the way, even though we've talked about it at length. So fun.
Yeah, I have enjoyed the show. I was a little hesitant at first when I was going to be getting into it the first time around. Yeah. I definitely enjoy it though. So
it's just different. I think that's what I like so much about it.
Also, I love how
it's its own unique genre.
I love how it's not a musical show.
No.
But they just decide at times. And now is the time where we're
it's a Ryan Murphy joint. That's just how that works.
Of this one, but like Glee, right? Like it was in like every episode. Where,
sure.
Like it's like a musical. It's like we're gonna have a super serious show for 6.5 episodes. Now is the time where we're gonna devote 20 minutes to him singing. And it's like he's great at it. It's just like such a weird pivot.
He is tremendous. But yeah, it is very funny. It's just like, oh, okay, we're doing the musical episode now. Cool. I'm in. What else have you been watching?
So the only other thing I've really been watching. So one thing, just as the briefest of notes, because we talked about it off air. I watched Palm Springs, the other release,
cool, which we'll be doing probably next week.
Next week, hopefully. You should see if would Kim want to do that episode.
Maybe I'll have to ask her. I'm
assuming that you liked it a lot. That seemed like she would probably like it as well.
Yeah.
If Kim doesn't want to do it, I can see if Gianna wants
to. I could actually. I think I might have said this the other week, but I could finally say that this was one of the movies that I saw in a pre-screening, and it will be fun to talk about the differences. Very few.
I didn't realize. Oh, you did tell me that, and I totally forgot.
It's very few, but there's one major one towards the end, which is cool. It's like it's not like super different. It's actually sequencing that's different, which is pretty cool.
Spoiler for next week's episode. I'm surprised I actually like. You know what it was? This is the first time that I got a sense for Andy Samberg's actual ability to act.
Sure. Yeah. And more on that next week. But go on. What else have you? Yeah.
The only other thing I've been watching is, and it's something I had wanted to get, even though the time in between has not been that long. I started rewatching, and it was for my brother, his first watch, Sense8.
Okay.
We're about halfway through the second season. I love that show.
And how many are there?
There's only 2 seasons.
Just the 2? Okay.
2 seasons.
I'll watch that next.
And then a movie to cap off the show.
Right.
So that has been a delight to get back into. It's nice to see that upon second rewatch. It's funny because I remember all the important stuff, but there's a lot of the little nitty gritty that I kind of forgot, or like I kind of forgot like the timing between some of the things. It's just a really, really good show. It's really well made. It knows when to switch gears between let's get super serious here, let's delve into this thing here, and let's just be ridiculous. And in some ways, it's reminiscent of The Politician, where it's we're gonna be campy slapstick like humor here. I
liked that combination.
Yeah,
Cappy.
Cappy. Little hot Cappy. We're gonna be we're gonna be over the top, over the top action sequence. We're gonna delve deep into the sci-fi here. We're gonna kind of back off the sci-fi there. It's a good watch. It's just a really good show. The music's great. It's Tom Tykwer again did the music, or I don't know if it's Tykwer. I've never been 100% sure on the pronunciation. Mm-hmm. He worked with them on Cloud Atlas. He was the second unit director, and he wrote the score for that. I believe he directed an episode or 2 of this. They had a couple of directors who came in, like John McTeague, who did V for Vendetta with them.
That's one I need to watch again. I love that movie.
Me and Dominic always try and watch it for November 4th.
Yeah, November
5th. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a really good show. As Dominic said, when we were about a third of the way through the second season, he goes, "Wow, they have already surpassed the total amount of sex in Game of Thrones." It's not nearly as gratuitous as Game of Thrones. They use sex in the way that like a lot of people use sex in real life, where it's actually an expression of people giving a shit about each other, not just we're gonna fuck right now, which not that there's anything wrong with that, but just it's nice to have a balance of those things in your life. There are some of the greatest choreography in the show is actually the sex scenes, because
I thought you were gonna like deadpan go, is the sex, and then just move on.
Yeah, no, and I say that because well, I know we've discussed the show in the past. You know what the gist of like the kind of like the core concept of the show is, right? 8 people who are extrasensorily connected to each other, and they can visit and share at any point at any time in the place and time that they're at. So some of the sex scenes incorporate multiple different members of the cluster having sex at the same time.
Okay.
And so they essentially turn into these extrasensory orgies. And I'm like, Dominic's like, how exactly did they shoot that with all of those people? And I was like, yeah, I keep wondering if anyone ever like dislocated an elbow or something, because they're like all intertwined with each other.
Oh my
and
God.
like I have to imagine at some point someone's like arm is all the way over here and interlooped between like 3 other people. I'm like, I just don't know how they didn't break their elbow.
Right. And now, if I didn't need to watch the show before,
that's great.
So curious.
It's great. It's got a lot of Wachowski collaborators. It's got Judah Bay, who's in Cloud Atlas and Jupiter Ascending. Toppins Middleton, who was in Jupiter Ascending. What's his name? Joe Pantoliano, who obviously was in The Matrix.
Of course.
And a handful of other people who, of smaller levels, who have been in their movies as well, are in this. It's a good watch. It's about a group of 8 people and other similar people around the world who can connect with each other around the world through an extrasensory link. And yet the show is not in any way, shape, or form about that at all. It is simply...
I kind of like that. I love when there's like this interesting mechanic that is just there. It's like barely a vehicle. It's just a thing that you also have to pay attention to as part of the storytelling.
Well, it's a testament to the writing of the show overall. And yes, they do get quite campy at times, or campy if you prefer. But So we had this conversation, me and Dominic, when we were watching the other day. He said, it's funny because, of the 8 of them, only 3 or 4 of them really have a lot of consistent impact on the main plot. And it feels like sometimes, like when they go to like the stories of some of these other people, when they go to them, are interesting, but like I want to get back to what's going on. I was like, yeah, but that's not what the show is about.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, what do you mean? I said, the show isn't about this sci-fi concept of these people and the people, and ultimately, and, the briefest of spoilers. There's an organization that's hunting them and anyone of their kind, in order to harness their
classic,
ability,
typical.
like sci-fi show, right?
Yeah.
I said, it's not about that. It's about people all around the world, and the whole Dr. Evil. We're not so different, you and I.
Yeah.
Right? It's about the human condition. It's about people. It's about how a trans woman in San Francisco,
people helping people,
a lot in common with a DJ in Iceland and a bus driver in Nairobi,
right,
and a Korean businesswoman in Seoul. They're all the same.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm on board. I definitely have to watch it.
It's really good. I think you and Kim would actually really like it.
Yeah, so. I feel like we will. All right, so that's what else? That was the other thing you're watching?
Yes.
So I over the last since we talked last, I watched the entirety of Little Fires Everywhere, which was really good. Like, oh my, there is some acting your ass off in that movie, in that show. Everybody's bringing it.
Wait, hang on a second. Have you been listening to Cinephobe?
No.
Oh, because that's a recurring joke in the show.
Oh, is it really?
Acting your ass off.
That's great.
Like, in this scene, this person is acting their ass off, and it's now spun onto other things where when someone does a particularly bad job, that they have extra ass in the scene.
Nice. I like that. There's it's really good. I feel like a lot of times the younger actors in a show are kind of just like overly guided. Like it almost feels like reading off a script, do this thing in a very specific way. Man, every kid in the show is talented, like super talented. And it was a joy to watch this incredibly dark show.
It's based on a book, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I know nothing about the show, actually.
It is worth your time. I think you'll enjoy. I think you would enjoy it very much. Just from writing and execution standpoint, like it's like funny. Like you can, I made some guesses early on about what happened as a joke, like things like that. But like even finding out the truth about things ends up not really being the point. It really is about like, it's similar to what you were saying. It's about like the way these characters interact and like the actual like emotional connection story that they're telling throughout it all. And it's really cool. It's very well done. And also like there's something about this like kind of one season series or limited series, whatever you want to call it, thing that I could really get behind. I feel like a regular TV series has too much of a chance to taper off or like have too many ebbs and flows, whereas like a Deus or something like this is just like, here's the whole story. Like, it's not compacted too short because we were trying to fit it into a film, and it's not stretched out over too many years because of some deal that we have. And I really dig that.
It's funny. It is bittersweet, right? Having a really good limited show where it's like, fuck, that was so good, I want more. And then learning how to let it go.
Sure. Well, yeah, because especially when it comes to that, the thing is that I'm pretty much making my peace with is I'm not going to watch them again. Because it was about getting the entire story. I'm not going to watch one of the episodes. I maybe years down the road I might go through it with somebody else again, like and watch it through. But like it's not likely that I'll.
It's like what I'm going through with Sense8, where it's okay, it's been a couple of years. I'd love to get back, and it's a relatively short watch, right? 2 seasons is not that long.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other show that I'm watching, which I am like 3/4 of the way through because it's 2 seasons, is Friends from College, and
that was that show with Keegan-Michael Key.
Oh man, it's very, very funny in a lot of the time, but it is also a very like deep dramatic story that's happening.
It's funny. I remember I was a little bit intrigued when that was coming out, and I heard it wasn't very good, so I never gave it a shot.
Oh man, I think it's great. I'm really enjoying it. I'm hooked. Like I can't wait to watch the next one.
There ended up being at least 2 seasons of
There's
that,
2
right?
seasons, yeah.
Okay.
We're nearing the end of the second. I don't know if there will be a third or not. I don't know, but it seems like it was a while ago that these happened, so I don't think so.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 3-4 years ago, something like that.
I also don't know how it ends, so I couldn't say that there would be or wouldn't be. But
Okay.
I will say that so part of what triggered this, like, to start, was I was listening to Billy Eichner on what's his face, Pete Holmes, who I love, his podcast, and they're having a conversation, and this came up, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that show. I had seen clips of it, thought it was funny, definitely saw a clip with him. I should watch that. I put an episode on thinking Kim had already watched it. She didn't actually watch the whole thing. She had only seen like bits and pieces of it, like when she was somewhere. And we started over again, watched it the whole way through. He's not a main character, Billy Eichner. He's a supporting role that shows up maybe in, like, I don't know, a quarter of the episodes over the 2 seasons. Yeah. I feel like, or like when he's in there, he's not in like long stretches of the episodes, but man, does he bring it in the scenes that he's in. I am watching nobody else. He's so funny. I don't like his delivery, his deadpan. He's someone that
always acts his ass off. So,
oh my god, he's great. He's been cracking me up the entire time. It's just I just went this episode where he's trying to fix a situation that his fiance is in. His fiance Fred Savage is in, and it's just that Fred Savage also hilarious. He's so funny in the show. But the whole thing is like he's being kind of trampled by one of their friends, and Billy Eichner's character decides that he's gonna do something about it. He's gonna fix it. So he meets with the other character. He talks. I'm not saying the characters' names because it'll be funny if you watch it later. But he's going through it, and the whole scene comes down to him being like, "Have you ever seen the show Ray Donovan?" And he's like, yeah, he's like, I'm fixing this. I am the fixer in this situation. Wow. It was just the whole thing I was hysterical. He cracks me up. But yeah, I think it's totally worth a watch. I don't know where it'll go. Obviously, like there is a good chance that I know that there's not many episodes left. I am worried about it just tapering off and not actually either coming to a conclusion or maybe having been canceled. I'm not really sure like what goes on there, but yeah. I'm hoping that there's some either resolution or that there's another thing coming. But it's entertaining for sure. Some great characters. Well, that's the other thing I'm watching.
On the topic of shows that are ending, possibly or definitely, High Fidelity was canceled, which is really disappointing.
I forgot how that ended, but I for some reason wasn't. I don't know that I expected there was going to be another season.
I mean, it ended with her getting rejected by that guy whose name I forgot, and saying how, okay, looks like I've got some stuff to work on for myself.
Yeah.
It felt to me like they were setting up where the next season was going to be her finally fixing herself.
Oh, okay, yes, I remember it now. I actually thought that was just kind of how we were leaving it. I didn't realize there was potential for another season.
Well, it certainly could work as an ending.
Sure. Just not what you wanted.
Well, yeah, but when you consider, I forgot what the name of the guy who worked in the store was, but where his storyline was going, where Sharice's storyline was going, where she was getting serious.
Great character.
Tremendous. But you remember, she kind of tapers off towards the end of the season, and then you come back and realize that she was distancing from the show from the action in the show, because she was finally taking seriously all the plans that she talked about doing.
Yep.
And so that seemed like a very logical place to jump off with, give her an opportunity for her to have her own standalone episode the way that he did.
Mm-hmm.
He was figuring out his thing with the guy that he broke up with 8 times or whatever it was.
Right.
And she was going to fix herself and see if she could get the guy that she actually wanted to fix herself for, you know?
Right.
That seemed like enough to jump off for another season.
That's fair.
I'm sure it would have been interesting and entertaining. I loved the first season. I think you liked the first season.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's funny, when it happened, I thought, oh, maybe this is one of those things where it's like, okay, we don't know when we're going to get to doing it. And Zoe Kravitz is probably becoming very busy and expensive now with, she's going to be Catwoman, and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, okay, like, yeah, between this and was it Big Little Lies, which she's gotten, and, being in the the Harry Potter movies, the
Fantastic Beasts. Yeah.
That she's got a full dance card. She's gotten a lot of notoriety, and for her ability, not just for her name. And okay, maybe we can't afford to do, or we can't work in the schedule. And no, a day or two after the show was canceled, she came out very stridently about how upset she was that the show was canceled.
Oh,
and called out Hulu over it. It's like, oh shit, okay. So there goes that theory. So then I don't know why they canceled the show, to be perfectly honest. It was reviewed very well critically. It had a very strong review from audiences. I don't know if what the viewership numbers were, if it wasn't economically feasible in that regard. But you would think that a show that is very well regarded by both the pros and the people actually watching it, that it would come back again. Even if they had to say, hey, listen, we don't know when it's going to happen. It's tough to make things right now with the pandemic. We'd love to do it, but it's going to happen a little bit down the line. That makes sense. An outright cancellation doesn't make a lot of sense. It seems like one of the very few hits Hulu might have had as far as TV shows so far. Like, they don't really have a lot to stand on right now, do they?
I don't really know. I think of it in the concept of, like, I've seen a lot of trash that's come by, and it's just like, why would something... If there was some sort of the thing is, it was their plan. Maybe they didn't write it. Maybe, like, who knows? Like, I don't know why it got canceled.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there was actually formally scripts done, but I never heard anything indicating.
It's just like a really, it's like a shit communication situation where it's like they were like planning on doing it, but they never told the writers, and they're like, what? I guess we're canceling it.
I would just point to the messaging around Watchmen, where when the season was nearing its conclusion and then concluded, Damon Lindelof said, "Yeah, I'm not doing another season. Like, I told the story I wanted to tell. This is it. If they want to do it, by all means, go for it."
I said good day.
Yeah, you have my blessing, but I'm done. I've told the story, and I don't want to sully it by trying to make it work again. Like, after this, like, I don't have any more to say. If I do, I'll let you know. And HBO keeps going back to him. He's like, yeah, no, I'm good right now. Like, I'll let you know if there's something I need to say.
Yeah.
And everyone else is like, yeah, we'd love to do it. It was great working on it. It worked out well. Everyone loved it. But it is what it is. Like, that was not the messaging around High Fidelity, from my knowledge. You know what I mean?
I am very compelled to go back and finish Watchmen, or restart and finish Watchmen. For sure.
Yeah, it was really good.
Lately, I've been thinking about it. I was like, I should do it. But, cool. All right, what's next?
Well, so there was one other big item, which, based on the amount of time we spent on this already, we're going to probably push to next week, I think. And that's the Emmys.
Oh, interesting. Let's move that to next week.
Yes, that's for sure going to be next week. So I only have one other thing, and that is Defector.
Okay.
So I was just going to throw it out there to see if you were up on it, if you were not up on it. So, me saying it seems to have not, like, jogged any memories of yours. So, we're familiar with Deadspin, correct? And the fact that Deadspin died and has been reanimated as a zombified corpse.
Okay.
None of the people who matter, who made Deadspin, are any longer, like, associated with Deadspin. It's a bunch of people that were hired by the people who killed Deadspin, and it's going to continue to wheeze along for however long until they finally decide to kill it for real.
Gotcha.
All of the people, or most of the people who made Deadspin what it was, have come together after working in the far corners of the world to create a new website called Defector. As you can obviously guess, because they have left Deadspin and are creating a new website. So I'm pretty excited about that. I loved Deadspin. I don't know what your mileage was with it. I know we discussed it briefly when it died.
Yeah. I remember being more familiar with it, and then, like, not really noticing, but that it was gone until you brought it up, and then going, "Oh yeah."
Well, I brought it up when the big thing happened, when a bunch of them left en masse. They all quit together because of the ridiculousness of what happened. There had already been firings and defections before that, but the rest of the core that had been around, like Drew McGarry and Tom Lee and all those guys, like, all left together. And a lot of those people are all coming together to create a new website called Defector. It's coming out and running in earnest soon. It is going to be a subscription site. Yep. It's essentially going to be what Deadspin was. Have all those main players. There's like a lot of them back. They're starting up a new podcast. I never really listened to any of the like the Deadcast or any of those things. I think what is the new one, The Distraction or something like that. You've been like typing and looking at your screen while I've been talking, so I imagine you're trying to get caught up on this. What has caught your attention? Because you're laughing.
I'm loving the explanations of the pricing structure of the plans.
Yes.
Specifically, the fourth option of Mysterious Benefactor Sicko Lawyer, $25,000 a year, includes all the accomplice stuff plus a signed copy of this photo, which I did not click the link for. If you actually want to give us this much money, email us. We should talk.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so I signed up on the basic level for the
reader
of it, whatever it was for the year, $70 or something like that.
Yeah, just for all the unlimited articles.
Yeah, I love the site. It's not like I read everything that was on it, but Drew's fun bag and his Thursday NFL dick joke jamboree are both excellent. I think I may have paraphrased slightly the title of it, but I got most of the core words in the title.
Sure.
Dick joke jamboree was definitely the finish of that whole title. And there's so many other things that they did on the concourse and Adequate Man and all that sort of stuff. So,
dude, sorry, I'm under the $1,000 a year plan, which includes a custom MS Paint art from Chris for avatar use. Oh, that's great.
I mean, there's crazy people. There's probably a couple of crazy people who are going to do that. But if just a whole bunch of people sign up for $70 a year, they can make this thing happen. And I mean, we watched. It's actually hysterical to look back now. What did we watch? A decade of everyone who was working in print media lamenting in real time the death of their industry.
Uh-huh.
That, oh yeah, this isn't going to work. And it's like, well, fucking make people subscribe online.
Right.
Like, you had to pay for the newspaper. It's not a new thing that you should have to pay for the thing you read. Or some sort of hybrid model, right? Like if you're going to run like ads and also...
It's either ads or I'll pay for it. I feel like it's one or the other.
Yeah, but if you want to try out both, whatever. Like, figure out some way. Like the full-blown just we're doing ads thing obviously wasn't working for you because you kept talking about how you're losing the jobs in the newsroom, you're losing money, the thing's not going to work. Well, fucking figure it out.
Yeah.
Charge people money for it the way you did since, like, I don't know, the beginning of newspapers. And magazines, for that matter. Just do it. I've subscribed to The Athletic for a couple of years. It's a true blue sports website. Sports Illustrated has died because they don't charge you to pay for... They don't charge you to read the stuff on the internet. No one buys the print magazine anymore. And then they said, oh, wow, this isn't working. We're not charging anyone and we're not making any money. Let's just put all of the fucking ads down your throat and also multiple videos you can't mute or turn off. And people stopped reading the website on top of them not wanting to pay for it.
Yeah.
Fucking figure it out. Charge a subscription. Maybe $70 a year is too much. I don't know. Make it $20 a year. Figure out what the price point is.
No, 70. The thing is, there is for whatever reason, there's like a sticker shock to it because it sounds like a big number, but it's really not. It's really not.
Sure. What I'm saying is a price.
Yeah.
Figure out what the price is. Make it so. And people are going to like it or not. And if you're that good, people will view it as essential and they will be forced to sign up. That's what happened with The Athletic. They gave out 1 million free subscriptions for a month, for a year, with all these different deals, or 40% off, or whatever. A ton of people signed up to try it out. Some of them left because they didn't want to pay when the time came. The churn we were talking about with Disney Plus earlier. But ultimately, they've assembled such a huge stable of writers that are great that if you want good coverage of your team, you will pay for it. And same thing with this. If you enjoy what they do, pay for it. And then they can continue to do the thing you enjoy. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Yep.
And I understand. If you don't have the money, it is what it is. But if you do, don't fucking stand on your high horse. Don't buy coffee tomorrow. Make it in your house.
Right. No, it's you're 100% right. Sorry, there's one more line item that I need to read, which is potentially the best offering and maybe worth spending the $1,000 a year. Annual video from a writer wishing you a happy birthday the day after your birthday.
Oh, I mean, like, that is... If you know anything about Deadspin, that is 100% Deadspin. Like,
this is great. That's really cool. Sweet. I also, I wonder how much they paid for that website, the domain name.
What?
And it definitely wasn't cheap.
Why do you say that?
Single word that's an actual word is not. They're hard to come by.
Huh.
There was probably a large sum of money exchanged for that.
I wouldn't be terribly surprised, but I like that Deadspin had unionized, right? They was Gizmodo Media Organization or whatever. Like, they had unionized. Like, they just wanted to be they created the website. They took on private money. They just wanted to contain, creative control.
Mm-hmm.
Understood that they had to work with the people, whatever, but they wanted, why would you invest money if you didn't believe in the product?
Mm-hmm.
Let them be the product they are. I understand there may have to be some tweaks and changes. Let them be what they are. Otherwise, what did you invest in?
Yeah, a name. You
don't buy a Ferrari and then put a trailer hitch on it. It's not a tow truck. It's a fucking Ferrari. Let it be what it is.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
So I'm glad that
this is pretty cool. I'm glad they did that.
This.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're gonna have to let me know how it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, if you never really got into Deadspin, maybe this won't be for you. It started as a sports site. It definitely didn't stay as. I mean, there was a ton of sports, but it was not. It did not stay as a sports site, and it wasn't breaking down the X's and O's. It's there would be a couple of blogs a day where it's oh, this pitcher tripped on the mound and ate shit, and let's talk about all the times that other guys ate shit. You know what I mean? That would be, and then there would be one about the business of sports, and it's would be a really serious article with the snark that you expect from Deadspin.
Right.
It was a weird site.
Yeah.
And then there was a ton of stuff that wasn't sports in any way, shape, or form. There was TV, there was movie, music, all sorts of pop culture, politics, whatever. Just whatever was interesting, whatever they thought people would give a shit about, they would talk about it in their way.
Yeah. That's cool. I dig that. All right, Al, what's next? Is it fun and games time?
Oh, it's not for fun and games.
Okay. Well, in that case, do I have the BuzzFeed quiz for you?
Oh, boy.
Which the old guard character are you? Shocking. So this is one of those things that I forgot. This is another benefit of doing something relevant, is that there's usually a BuzzFeed quiz that coincides with it that I could stir up. You know what I'm saying?
I don't remember any of their names, but okay.
That's fair. Neither do I.
I watched it 3 weeks ago.
I'm 50-50 on whether or not they had names. What are you the most afraid of? Heights, deep water, betrayal, losing someone you love, needles, or death?
I feel like death shouldn't be allowed to be a part of that group of things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say betrayal.
Okay, betrayal could be rough.
Which time?
You fucking whore. Which time period would you like to live in? Ancient Egypt, is that a time period? Ancient Egypt, the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, Roman Empire, Ancient Greece, early 2000s.
I mean, I guess the early 2000s, they were fine.
I was going to say, we had some dope movies. Pick a famous person from history. Catherine the Great, Leonardo da Vinci, Confucius, Jane Austen, Mahatma Gandhi, Beethoven.
Is it just pick a person?
Yeah.
Let's go with Da Vinci.
Okay. For some reason, I've never actually... I don't think I've ever spent this long looking at the word Beethoven.
Beethoven?
And Beethoven is not something I want to be a part of. How would you describe your fighting style? Stealthy, aggressive, strategic, defensive, modern? I'd prefer not to fight.
I'm going to go with strategic.
Okay. Fighting requires a lot of energy. Pick an international dessert to snack on. Baklava, mochi, Turkish delight, alfajores, brigadeiro, gulab jamun.
Oh wow, that was a train wreck.
Well, there was a lot of questions from me in there, which is not how this is supposed to work.
No. The thing is, I don't know what any of those things are.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of Turkish Delight. Remember the Chronicles of Narnia movie that came out like 15 years ago?
Yeah, I never saw it, but I'm familiar.
That was definitely the dessert that kid ate. And that was the only time I've ever heard anyone mention Turkish Delight.
What does it look like?
That. I don't know. It was in a weird tin.
Okay. Yeah.
It would look like a finger food of some sort. So let's go with Turkish Delight.
Cool. They're very colorful in this picture. Other than immortality, what other superpower would you want? Invisibility, super speed, flight, telepathy, super strength, ability to communicate with animals.
Let's go with telepathy.
Pretty cool. All right, here we go. You got Andy. How do Andromache of Scythia?
Andromache.
You got Andromache.
I definitely
of Scythia,
said her name a few times.
AKA Andy. All right. You lived 1,000 years and you have the wisdom and combat skills to prove it. You're a genuine force of nature and leading comes naturally to you. You're not the type of person who stands for deception, and you move through the world with the desire to help others by any means necessary. Actually, you might come off as cold to some, but you've got a heart of gold.
Actually, that was all really accurate.
That's great. I feel like they didn't do a lot. They didn't do a great job of portraying all of that in the character, but we'll get to that next when we get into our flick of the week. The Old Guard, released in 2020 on Netflix. Here is your IMDb synopsis. A covert team of immortal mercenaries are suddenly exposed and must now fight to keep their identity a secret, just as an unexpected new member is discovered.
Yeah,
it's pretty spot on. Let's kick off with our tweet length reviews. What do you got for me?
A new age look at a throwback action flick, a fun romp with just enough world building to pique the interest.
Score
7.5 out of 10.
Oh, okay, nice. I'd said a predictable paint by numbers action flick that is just original and entertaining enough to keep me engaged, and I got a 6.5 out of 10.
So basically the same thing.
Same phrase, different words.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was watching. You know what it was? Bar was low. It does help, but I went in and I was like, I'll watch this, and I was watching it. I was like, 20 minutes in, I was like, kind of into this.
Yeah.
And like 40 minutes in, I was like, this is pretty good. And then I was like, oh, I paused it to pee, and I was like, oh, there's an hour left. Huh. All right. I'm not upset. I'm not feeling like I should be done already. I'm just surprised. I thought this would have. It was easily going to be a tight 90 in my mind. A tight 90 in my mind, and it wasn't. And I was like, oh, cool.
It didn't end up overstaying its welcome.
No, not at all. And maybe it will in sequels. We'll find out, I guess. But it's all.
I just meant literally like on the runtime.
Yeah. But no, it was a good time. It was entertaining action flick. I will say there's one thing that I feel like if done differently would have easily tipped it into a 7.5 for me or so, is if I didn't know anything about what was going on. Like if they had like made the trailer and marketing towards it slightly different, where you really didn't actually fully hint at the immortality of it, I feel like it could have made for a really cool, quick twist early on in the movie, because you could have positioned the rest of the trailer for the movie without having shown that. And I know that there's like a source material that I'm not familiar with, so for me particularly, I would have been like surprised. I thought it would have been a cool concept.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was a source material until I opened up the IMDb page.
Okay.
But for me, I don't even think I saw the whole trailer. I didn't realize that there was going to be an immortality thing.
Okay. So there you go. So that's fun. There's your 7.5. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I didn't I knew it was going to be like weird that there was going to be something, because I know I saw a snippet of the trailer and like she was fighting guys with assault rifles with a battle axe. So I was like,
sure.
Okay, so we're doing something here, but I don't know what it is. I literally didn't know about the immortal thing until like I was about to turn the movie on, because they run the autoplay thing, and they all get shot up, and then
exactly.
Like, oh, so this is gonna be a weird movie, okay?
Yeah,
and then I started it. You know what I mean? So like there was no like time to like sit and think of like,
sure. Yeah, I got stuck in the Netflix one day prior to watching the movie of like, you flick through, the trailer starts to run, and you watch a little bit of it. And I think their intention is that you'll start it while watching the trailer because you're okay, I'm sold. But instead, I was just kind of sitting there watching it and then realized, like, I feel like I'm 15 to 20 minutes into this trailer at this point, and I'm like, wait a minute. You're giving me too much.
Yeah, I don't like that, actually, the autoplay thing when you highlight something. Like, not even just the trailer, but, like, if I go to put on, like, an episode of something, if I click on the show, it starts playing, no, I will start this episode when I am ready.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. But no, it was cool. I have a couple of issues with it, but overall,
I mean, it definitely wasn't a great movie, but it was fairly well made. It was a slick action flick. It was entertaining.
It did not as in your face as Bird Box, but it definitely felt like it did feel like a similar algorithm type movie. I feel like with certain things that they did, and like, I don't know what it was about, like almost like box ticky, like with like every character and like all like the different things that they did. Like it seems like they were like, we're putting this person here for the sake of putting this person here. Like there wasn't really anything more to it, but I feel like they called a lot of things out. I don't know. I have no problem with the two characters being gay. I actually think it was a pretty cool concept. The idea of them being like on opposite ends of the battlefield, but coming together and then being long-term lovers was really cool. But I felt like they kept harping on it in a weird way. Well,
yes, but like they didn't get gratuitous. Not that like that matters. Like I don't care about that. But like you know, because I feel the same way a lot of times when they do that with a straight couple too in those situations where it's like, okay, like if you want to be that movie, like honestly, you got to go further into it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, there's something about you know what it is. Schitt's Creek did a lot of great things for telling that kind of story of this is here. There's nothing else to be said about it other than these are the characters that we're exploring, that we're talking about the story with. Whereas like they had to like make like comments about it, especially in the scene where they're kidnapped and they're in the truck, and there's like, and the people that are holding them hostage like are being weird about them being gay.
Yeah,
and I was like, it's not okay right now. It's not okay it wasn't okay. It's not okay right now, and it's just like it seemed odd that it was in there.
I mean, I guess I got it. Like it was maybe a bit ham-handed, but like the idea is like, again, like what you're saying, like get over it. Where it's well, like, no, this is what's happening right now. Like, oh, wait, you guys are uncomfortable with that? Just wait how uncomfortable you are when I kill you.
Right? Yeah, but I guess what bothered me about it was like it's funny because it's like while it was it was a scene that made me cringe because of the way that it was handled by like, why do we have to like well, let's not even acknowledge that. For some people, it's still like they're still behind the times and it's weird for them. Like, I don't even want to acknowledge that. Let's just get past that. My favorite scene was in there, was that monologue that one of the guys gives. I was just like, oh, it was so well delivered. I was like, this is a great moment.
It is interesting, though, to see that because they're playing on like that trope where you see like think of something like Baby Driver, right? Where you have like John Hamm and, was it Asa Gonzalez?
That sounds right.
I know I have the first name right. I don't know if I have the second name right.
Okay.
Where it's like that is such a trope, right? Where it's like the Bonnie and Clyde thing, and instead it's, you know, it's two guys, and it's like, okay, so you're playing on that trope, but you give it enough where it feels like a real relationship, but it's not going to. Because honestly, like even that movie, like they go over the top. It's like, why? Like we get it. You guys are a couple. Like, fine, great, whatever. Like honestly, to the point where, like I said, it's like you either need less or like way too much. And something like Sense8, there is so much depth from an emotional and physical standpoint that goes into all of the relationships on the show. Not that every character is in a relationship, but multiple ones are. Where it's like you realize how important it is to the character, the fact that they're in this relationship. Whereas in this case, honestly, the relationships they were in was not super important to the character outside of that one really good conversation where it's just like, beyond that, it's just okay. They're gay guys, like, and they're in a relationship. Like this is what you would do for your significant other, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, the only thing that I actually thought they were going to go somewhere. I don't know. It's not. I kind of want. I don't want to say this until spoiler territory, so I'll hold up on that. But we'll circle back. Let's talk about pre-spoiler notes.
I was going to say the one thing that I found interesting. I want to know. You were talking about the box checking, right, of the algorithm. Yeah. I wonder what algorithm spits out Charlize Theron, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Jafar, and no one else.
Yeah, that's a great question. Hang on 1 second. 1 second. Let me see if I can figure out what algorithm this is. It's the same algorithm that spits out Sandra Bullock, Javante Rhodes, John Malkovich, and no one else.
No, but that one actually because there was what.
Oh no, Lil Ray Howery was in that one too. He's great in that.
Lil Ray Howery. There was a guy from
B.D. Wong was in that.
Who?
B.D. Wong, the Jurassic Park is what I know him from.
Forgot he was in it. There was also what's his name from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. The short guy, the crazy guy who gets into the house with them, who is one of the ones who like can keep his eyes open and he wants to kill everyone with it or whatever.
Right.
And then there was that couple that leaves. Wasn't one of them like a rapper or something like that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like that, from the algorithm standpoint, that one made sense.
A little bit more. Well, in this one though,
confusing me.
Hang on. Let's go back to the cast list real quick for this one. So we have the old guard. So we've got Charlize Theron and Kiki Lane. So we've got people in Academy Award categories.
Is she in Academy Award category?
She was in If Beale Street Could Talk. I think that was the last year, 2 years. Oh, 2 years ago. Jeez.
I looked through her thing and I didn't recognize anything. That didn't even register for me, like that name. But yeah. Now that you mentioned it, duh.
And then the other three guys that show up on the list next are the other three members of the old guard. And then you have Chiwetel Ejiofor, who is, I think he's awesome. I don't know. He brings a gravitas to the scenes. I like him.
He's a good actor.
And then we have this guy that plays Merrick, who's, over the top wacko, who I'm not quite sure who he is at the beginning. And I'm certainly not quite sure who he is at the end. He's just a guy.
Follow the Chris Tucker credo of follow the rich white man.
Oh man, I haven't seen Rush Hour in a while. But I did quote it earlier. But no, it was like I said. It's an entertaining flick. Any notes before we lift the veil? I would say, I mean, we're home. You're home. You want something to watch? Don't sleep on it. Put it on. Throw it on. It's entertaining. You'll have some fun.
Yeah. My only other note is, as I'm looking at the IMDb, I was scrolling through briefly earlier on this. Like I said, writers. It's a Greg Rucka based on the graphic novel series, but he also wrote the screenplay though, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah. That is pretty cool. Having that direct involvement, I would imagine it's closer to the actual source content, which is great.
I wouldn't know, but it would make sense if that were the case.
Sure.
What's her name was in this too? That's right. The one who was in most of the flashbacks. What was her name? Quinn, I guess. She was in Star Wars, right?
Let me see.
Didn't she play Rose's sister, the one in the 7 and 8?
I believe so. Yes, she did. She did. Very cool. Good call out. We'll get to that in spoiler territory. But overall, I would say you have your Netflix. I know we talked about this earlier. We all have it. So if you're home and you're looking for something to watch, throw it on. It's entertaining. The only reason I would say not to watch it is if you're maybe a little bit skeeved out by gore. There's some gore. There's some stuff that happens.
If you don't like violent deaths, don't watch this movie.
Yeah, for sure. Even if they don't stick. But that being said,
they may not stick for the character, but they will stick in your brain.
Let us lift the veil and go into the spoiler territory for this film. I want to circle back quickly to what we were talking about before. Of I think their names are Joe and Nikki. The two characters
yes.
that are together in the film. They you were saying either go more or go less, right? That was like
I thought they hit the proper amount with.
Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is, when you get like slightly more gratuitous with just like how deep we're going into the relationship with them, that's when you get into this weird middle ground. I thought they were at the perfect amount here. If you're going to do it, you got to go like all the way. Like
I will say there was only my only concern with this actually kind of ties into what we were talking a little bit about before with the politician of the show don't tell is they told us how in love these two characters were.
I mean, they did a little bit of show and tell, but it was a little clunky.
The stakes were never that high though. Considering that we never expected either of them to not have their healing power anymore.
Until people started not having the healing power.
And even then, though, I don't know, there was like, I feel like there was hints of people that have like, you've been at it for a long period of time. I know that they've been at it for a while, but they're not the oldest. So like, as far as whatever rules there are around when you lose your power, it didn't seem like it would be them anytime soon. I don't know.
Anytime we talk about a movie or TV show where we ask what are the rules, I always think of the premiere from
What Are the Rules?
Yes, I'm always saying.
Oh man, I saw that for the first time last year. It really cracked me up.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. This movie also did end up becoming guilty of what The Walking Dead has. You remember the beginning of The Walking Dead, where someone would die and then they would turn into a zombie like a year later. Mm-hmm. And how now anyone who dies turns into a zombie 12 seconds later.
Minutes later, yeah.
And how like earlier in the show it was like, oh, it's different for everyone. So like some of them took like a year, and some of them took like an hour, and some of them took like a few minutes. And okay, you know what? Fair enough.
Yeah.
But now everyone turns into a zombie in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
This kind of happened in this movie too, where it's like, oh, she had her first death, and it took her like however many hours to come back or something like that. And then it was like, oh, she had her another death, and it's like, and they had a story reason. They said, oh, the first couple times, you kind of, it's pretty slow, and then, get up. But then later it's like Booker died and then was dead. It's like, oh, wow. So I guess Booker's dead. Oh, he's back. Great.
He's back. Cool. Yeah.
And then like, oh, this person took when
intros are involved, it takes some more time.
Yeah. Like it just felt contrived to the plot. And it's like
100%. It was whatever was convenient to the storytelling for sure.
Yeah. Which to an extent, I understand, because if you just bog down in the middle of an action scene, like, okay, let's wait for him to come back. But if you want to add stakes, make it random, right? Because
or they didn't even really have to go that far. Like it could have just been as simple as, if it's a little bit crazier, it takes a little bit longer. That's all it really needed to be.
That much too, right? Yeah, you get popped in the head. But you fell off a 50-story building. Like maybe it takes you a while for your body to like.
Right, you get blown up by a grenade in your stomach and all your guts are hanging out. Maybe it takes an hour. Like but yeah.
But I would have been good with like a kind of a randomization where it's like, oh, you never really know if this is your last. Because early on, like they pose to you that, oh no one ever. But then when Andy is realizing like, oh god, I think my time has come, they peel back the curtain where it's like, oh yeah, no, like we do know that like eventually it might be your time.
Yeah,
we just try not to talk about it, which fair enough actually, because you wouldn't really want to.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's still death, right? It's still
So like if you're gonna give it that sort of this time might be real, right? Make it random.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like they did it the one time with Booker, and I actually kind of like that, where it's like, oh, this is the first time it kind of feels like there's stakes.
Yeah.
Oh, he's okay. But like that's fine, ultimately, because like we generally expect that he will come back, so when it looked for a second like he might not, it's like, okay, oh shit, so these are, like maybe we should be a little bit more worried, like not just assume they're going to come back every time.
Right.
But then like when everyone keeps coming back in 5 seconds later on, it's like, well, no.
Yeah. They just try to move it along. I just scrolled up and had this note that I guess I wrote when I watched the movie early on in the movie. It bothered me. By the end, it only bothered me a little bit, but not as much as it did early on. But I have this note that says, "Tired, disgruntled protagonist is tiresome and leaves me feeling disgruntled." But it was a little bit much early on. It's like, I understand. I get the why. It's just not very compelling as a narrative to have this character that is jaded at this point.
The jaded, crusty antihero?
Yeah, it's just like, what? It's like, oh, it is tired. It is as tired as she is. You know what I mean?
It only works when you're doing the parody of it, like in Into the Spider-Verse, where the Chris Pine Spider-Man is in the middle of the fight and he goes, God, I'm so tired.
Yeah. or when Danny Glover is saying, I'm too old for this shit.
But, like, that was the start of it 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, that created the trope 40 years ago.
Right.
We're still doing it, and it's more than ever, it feels like.
So, a minor aside here with the phrase disgruntled. Can you be gruntled?
Oh, that's been a running joke with me and some of my friends.
Yeah.
When you have that, it's almost like a stoner thing where it's like, oh, you can be disgruntled, but can you be gruntled?
Yeah.
Every once in a while, it's a drop in when like you're talking to someone, you haven't talked to them in a minute, like, oh, how's it going? I'll just drop it. Oh, I'm feeling properly gruntled.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Turns out, though, gruntled, yes. Gruntled is a yes. You can be gruntled. Next question. Can you be
I am often properly gruntled.
Can you be whelmed?
I have also said less often than gruntled, but I have also said I'm feeling whelmed by this. Yes.
Can you be shoveled?
I don't believe you can be shoveled.
That's where I draw the line.
I'm gonna start to work that one in as well. I have never considered one.
You're at a wedding, you got the tux on, you're like, I'm feeling quite shoveled today.
Yes.
Or I'm looking quite shoveled.
Yes.
Oh, man. Awesome. Another note I have in here is obvious traitor. That's the old note that the note says. Is obvious traitor. Like, it was like, when it goes bad in the first 10 minutes of the movie, I was like, oh, that guy did it. And it's like, and then, oh, we're not going to talk about it. You haven't been around for 4 million years at this point. You don't know what a traitor looks like. You can't. Come on. You know it's this guy. We all know it's this guy. Oh, we're not doing that. All right, whatever. We're not doing that. And then they do it. I'm like, yeah, but that's not fair because I called it like hours ago.
The thing is, I probably should have called it then too. But the thing is, I wasn't paying that close attention the first few minutes, so I forgot he was the one who gave them the job. Yeah. Because had I made that association, I would have been like, oh, yeah, so he's a traitor. Yeah. But then I would have been just sitting there racking my brains for the rest of the movie, like, why? So I'm actually glad that I didn't. Fair. Fair. Yeah, but I think you have two different things that you're running. It's like, okay, well, first of all, in that BuzzFeed quiz, they said 1,000 years old. She was definitely much more than 1,000. Mm-hmm. She was several thousand. Yeah. But regardless.
I think I said 1,000,000 years old, which was too many.
What's that?
I think I said 1,000,000 just now. 1,000,000 years old, which is too many.
I get it. I think 4 million is what you said. Oh, yeah. But regardless, just right. Like you said, they've been around the block a few million times, so they should be able to see a traitor. But also, you deal with that whole, well, we've been best friends for, 1,000 years, and you don't want to believe.
That's fair. That's fair. I do think that there is a different movie that could have been done in here that would have reached a much smaller audience. But if we were to just explore the psychological aspect of what they were going through, I think that could have made for a very interesting dramatic movie.
We're going to get a prequel of just getting stuck underwater.
Oh my god, it's just like 4 hours. And it's a loop. Oh god, that's horrible. Yeah, don't like that. Unsubscribe. Oh, also, when they showed that, I was like, okay, there's your sequel. Like, I knew immediately, like, this isn't getting resolved or even addressed in any way, shape, or form throughout the rest of the movie. That's what the second one's going to be about. And then post-credits, that's what the second one's about.
Not even post-credits. It was like, the movie ended, and immediately the stinger happened. Like, not that's even, like, the hint of we're getting it post or mid-credits, whatever. But the only bit of doubt I had was, is this one of those like Resident Evil type situations where like, she's the final boss, like she was the one pulling the strings the whole time, like, or Darth Maul and Star Wars or Solo, a Star Wars story where we find out like, and like that's what the sequel is. It's like, we have to, or like she's just like the final boss fight or whatever. But sure, I actually prefer this way to look at it if they are truly going to tee up sequel.
Yeah. It's fun. I was just saying, like, when it happened, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's later's problem. We'll deal with that.
For sure, it was Chekhov's Drowning Iron Maiden.
We need to start. We have to make a point of doing that for every episode and calling out that very specific thing. Like that. And then keep a running list, you know?
Also, if you want to call me that in a future episode, you can. That happened in when me and Dominic were watching Sunset Last Night the night before. There was something specific happened in the show. I was like, oh, come on, that was Chekhov's whatever. But it was like, again, like Drowning Iron Maiden, where it's like an absurdly specific long phrase.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what it was now, but it's like, okay, because he was like, foreshadowing much? I was like, no, that wasn't even foreshadowing. I said, this and was foreshadowing. It's like, that was just a full-blown Chekhov's blank.
Right. So what about some of the favorite moments? Give me a favorite moment.
Oh, I totally forgot that we were supposed to do that, but my notes page broke and or died. I don't know. I really liked some of the fight choreography where they started to incorporate like the teamwork aspect. I thought was really cool. Like, if you're going to do this sort of thing, that's a good way of showing, not telling, that these people have been working together for a few years.
I agree. The choreography definitely played more than just fun scenery. It did make for that feeling of like I know what's next. Specifically, the handing off of weapons and ammo mid motion was really cool.
It's a bit of visual storytelling that's really cool, on top of looking really cool.
Mm-hmm. And then the only thing that bothered me, also when they dive in front of bullets for each other, even though the other person is not really going to get hurt, I think that was cool too, because that was like the friendship aspect of it. I feel like the human part of it.
A couple of times that pain still exists.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I just think that my only gripe with the choreography is there's, within the past 20 years, there's been far too much of like the tight camera work during the choreography, and it makes me a little bit disoriented.
Yeah,
I understand that like doing it that way makes it probably, I'm sure, easier to frame the shots and like the steps and where to angle the camera, and maybe not have to build much of a set around it. But it just makes me go a little during a lot of those scenes. But you know, it's not a big deal. And it is quite gruesome. One of my favorite parts I have here is it was more just an experience watching the movie, which was I was thinking early on. So the new character that we find out has the power. The team realizes and they want to go get her. So Charlize Theron goes to get her, and I was like, how do you move? I was thinking as the scene was going down, how do we move through this quickly? How do we convey this message in the most reasonable way that it gets across clearly and is not, I don't know, it's not too much of a showstopper? And I was like, I guess what she could do is get her alone, and then Charlize Theron's character can just shoot herself in the head and come back real quick. And that would be an indicator. And I was like, I guess that's one way to do it. And as I'm thinking about this, she then proceeds to shoot the new girl in the head. I was like, or that. I was like, that's a little bit much. But I don't know. It still leaves some questions. Did you actually hit me? You know, she's got to figure it out. She's like, is there a bullet hole in my face? You know, that whole thing. But
I would say that actually leads me into my least favorite thing. Not that specifically, because you kind of like you figure that's coming, right? Where like, oh, she's just going to shoot her, and it's both going to prove a point and also allow her to drag her out of there. Great. Then she escapes, or well, actually, that's what had happened, right? Like she escapes and she shoots her, or whatever.
Mm.
When she fights her again on the plane,
I know,
set up a cool sequence, but it's like, come on,
you've died. Aren't we done with this?
Yeah, like you've died.
Uh-huh.
Come back, confused, fair.
Sure.
Lot of questions. You don't believe this person. She shot you and killed you again. You're gonna fight this person again,
right?
Like,
right.
You're not stupid. Don't be stupid. Like I can understand standing on your principles. Actually, if that was what it was just like, no, I'm not going to agree. Well, and then she gets shot again. It's like, okay, fine. Like, let's hear.
Well,
why we have to have the fight sequence where it's like, no, we already established that you can't die and she can't die.
They had to do that to set up Chekhov's. Oh, you don't speak Russian, do you?
Which that whole scene was built around that whole thing, which was entertaining for what it's worth, but it's like, I hate, that's an example to me of frustrating and or bad writing, where it's no, after you've been killed twice, I think you kind of get it.
Yeah. You know what bothered me about that is the payoff is that they could say it again at the end, but it's a complete misstep at the end when they say it.
What?
The whole, I told him to play dead.
Oh, yeah.
Was what, right? And then she says to her, I think, she either says play dead or she says something about speaking Russian and she understands what to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is stupid. That entire end sequence that entire end fight sequence I actually have under least favorite moments of play dead. So the character that can't die ducks for no reason. And then the character that can die is in immediate danger. And then the character that can't die pummels the other character with an axe and then dives out the window with them. That was unnecessary. And then the joke of faster than taking the elevator. And I go, yeah, and the only reason for that scene is so that we don't have to watch you take the elevator.
Yeah.
That was dumb. But I don't know. That, for whatever reason, that just bothered me. It just seems like we're going to do all this crazy stuff. They're like, we're done. Hit him with the axe and jump out the window. All right.
And see.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I want to get into some of these goofs that are in IMDb's tab for this movie. While some of them are goofs, more of them are just people just being such dicks for no reason. Like they just want to be mad about something. Let me see if I can pull up the one that really got me before. Oh, this one's great. This is somebody being like at about 4 minutes and 40 and the 40-second mark, very specific. Charlize Theron eats baklava, Turkish dessert with syrup. However, she lists the ingredients of a completely different Turkish dessert. It's like, okay.
I mean, is it worth getting all like bent out of shape over? No. But on the other hand, like, just get it right. You know what I mean?
100% get it right. But I mean, like taking...
It is frustrating when people do like that. It's like, no, like, if you were going to go through the half-ass effort of like trying to do that, just fucking get it right.
Sure. Get it right. But don't waste your time on this in the IMDb goofs section of the...
Oh, for sure. Well, and I see like a lot of that with conversation. I mean, listen, we've been doing this is the 140th episode of this show. We're not professionals in the sense that we don't get paid. We've never formally studied this stuff, but we've watched a lot of movies. Yeah. I think that generally we have some decent takes. I'm sure there's better. There's definitely worse. There's so many times that I read or watch other people's work, and it's like, I get so frustrated when people like willfully misinterpret what's going on.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't be that stupid, can you?
Yeah.
Like, you're just doing this wrong, because we're not in the realm of...
You came in there deciding that you were going to be annoyed by it, and you're going to pick out like these random things, like that kind of thing.
Well, no, you're trying to think critically, except you're not actually trying to think critically, because if you stopped and thought about it for 1 second, you would realize how woefully... Like, we're not even talking opinions here. Like, you are like actively misinterpreting what is being told to you. Or there are so many times where it's like people just get so lost in the forest for the trees, where it's like stuff like this. Oh, how stupid is this movie? They got this fucking Turkish... Yes, it's an annoyance. I totally agree.
Yeah.
What you're saying that they should get it right is totally valid. But, like, I don't know, in The Godfather, if like Al Pacino like mispronounced something in Italian, like the movie's not valid anymore. Like,
right. Well, okay. So here's two in a row that are going to be the opposite ends of this. One of these is definitely just someone who is stoned, and that is the one that says bullets eject themselves from Andy's body as she heals after being shot, and yet she's seen wearing multiple ear piercings throughout the film. I think that's funny. That's just funny. That's a funny observation.
Not really world breaking, but that's a funny thing.
This one, the person seems to have there's something deeper going on here. The scene in Surrey, England, where they are driving across the grassy field going to the mansion. The car used has curved down. Nope, this isn't the one. Sorry, it's where is it? Sorry. Oh, here it is. It's unusual for an American film I'm going to change the words to what these are meant to be. It's unusual for an American film to represent England so well. The cars were on the right side of the road, the local signage was correct, and strangely, as almost every movie gets it wrong, the license plates were correct. All this hard work was undone by the train sound effect. It was clearly an American diesel train going past on an English electric line.
Which, again, funny, not really a big deal.
Right.
But you know what? I don't live in England, so maybe it is kind of offensive to the ears. Because, I mean, there's times where I see stuff where it's like taking place here, and it's like, has that person been there before? Do they have any idea what they're talking about?
And then this one was right on the line, in between the two. In between the stoner's observations and the person that's disgruntled for the wrong reasons. The iron coffin that is it Quinn?
Quinn? So.
Quinn? The iron coffin that Quinn is put in would have rusted away long before the 500 years it has been since she was dropped into the sea.
You know what? Fair enough. I don't know the science on that.
Or at least the lock would have been. Or the latch, enough to break it open.
Yeah, well, but you're not going to think about the crushing depth that they're at. You're not going to generate a lot of force to snap that lock.
That's true. Although, what kind of strength does she come back with in between those deaths?
That's a good point. Does sitting at the bottom of the sea for that long with that amount of pressure sitting on her, is she going to be stronger for that when she comes back?
She comes out of the water. Oh, I have a new superpower. I can jump to the moon.
Well, I gotta say, it does stretch credulity a bit that she could survive when you consider how many times the rest of them died, and like it seems like eventually like everyone has a counter, and the counter is a little different, maybe but it's many times you can die, right? Mm-hmm. She has to have died more than the rest of them.
Yeah, I never made the connection that it was like a counter as much as it was a certain amount of time being passed, but
it felt like to me it could have been like an either or situation. Like think of like getting an oil change in your car where it's like 3 months or 3,000 miles. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Where it's like okay, 500 years.
That's fair.
Or 5 billion deaths. Because she was basically living and dying like every 2 minutes.
What if we find out that she actually got out a long, long time ago and knows that they're connected by these dreams and just occasionally drowns herself to fuck with them?
Oh, until like her plan was ready?
Yeah, that sets up a sick villain for the second movie.
I kind of like that. I don't think that's what happened, but I kind of like that like mentality, like the thought process. Actually, I'm glad you brought up the dreams because it's been kicking around in my mind. I wanted to mention it. I kind of liked that whole thing. I do wish we got a little more info on it.
Sure. Like the mechanics of it, you mean? Or
yeah, it was kind of a cool concept, right? Where they're so connected that they start to like see each other. And actually, in some ways, it reminds me a little bit of Sense8 because that's kind of a similar overlap where it's like, oh, these are these same people. Like, I wish they had explored because one of them said, oh, if we can see her, she can see us. Like, she can be used as a beacon to find us. Well, fuck, explore that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what does that look like? How does someone twist this against them? Mm-hmm. Because that sounds like a really dangerous thing like they wouldn't see coming. I'd like to know more about that. Yeah. That seems like a cool plot point you could work into this movie.
There.
I also, I think I just wanted a little bit more explanation on what was going on or like to use it for a more specific plot point other than just, oh, she's in the desert somewhere. I don't know.
Sure. No, that's fair. I'm trying to think. I don't really have much else to say about this one. Like I said, it's funny. I was like making most of these complaints are more just kind of jokey complaints. Overall, I did enjoy it. It was a perfectly fine and entertaining flick.
Yeah, I thought it was performed ably enough. I thought they were all kind of like credible in their roles.
Better than it should have been is probably where it's at.
Yeah. I mean, the villain was a little bit gratuitously over the top and just how he's being him.
Yeah. That was definitely shocking where it was just like, who is this guy? Okay, I was like, he's definitely, fueled by money. I get it. And then when he gets a little bit like physically psycho, I'm like, oh, that's new.
Well, because we went from fueled by money to, oh, maybe there's a whole greater good thing that's been twisted here to,
sure.
Oh, no, he is a psycho.
Yep. He's nuts.
Like, vindictive and cruel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, the neck breaking sequence that was pretty crazy too.
I don't know whose neck got broken.
It is. Hang on, let me get the characters' names real quick. One of the henchmen shoots Nikki in the mouth, and the lead henchman. And then when they're in the penthouse, Joe like jumps up, flips him around, and makes him land on his face, so his neck breaks.
Oh yeah,
that was pretty. That was intense.
That was pretty gnarly. That I remember that was an oh shit moment.
Yeah, there's definitely some gnarly. Yeah, that's actually I not so much an oh shit for me as I went oh.
No, now that you mentioned it, yeah, no, that was a moment I remember taking note. Like, oh, that was something.
Well, that just happened. Actually, complete aside, that's a fun thing that they do on Justin Long's podcast. When him and his brother connect before and after the show, the after the show segment is well, that just happened, where they recover after the interview that they did.
Okay.
It's silly, but yeah. Anything else? Any other notes on this, Jim?
Yeah, I had something else kicking around in my head while we were discussing the dreams thing, and I totally lost it. So I'm gonna go.
How about here's one. Copley is just he's way out of everybody else's league in this movie. Chiwetel Ejiofor is just like he's bringing it to a degree that it does not need to be brought. Like what was the there's too
ass off.
He's too much ass. Extra ass.
No, extra ass is when you do a very bad job.
Oh, okay.
You're not trying at all. Acting your ass off, you lose the ass because of how hard you're acting.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have extra ass, it's because you're mailing it in so badly.
Yeah, like in that scene when he's in his apartment and talking about his wife, I was like, I was not expecting you to bring the emotion I was not expecting you to tap into like that emotional delivery that you use in 12 Years a Slave. Like, what do you, like, all right, like you just go big. That's your
yeah, he really flipped the switch there. He has way less ass now than he had before this movie started. I
could almost picture another character in the scene completely being taken out of the experience of being an actor in the scene and just going, wow. he's really good.
I was not ready for that.
Yeah. I didn't admit
Actually, now you said that he was really good. I'm thinking of Billy Madison when they're doing the academic decathlon and the Eric plays the violin and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And he goes, and he blows the clarinet and he goes, he's good.
Yeah.
And he starts hugging the clarinet in shame.
That's so good. I haven't seen that movie in a minute either. But
that's a classic.
Well, that's all for this week's episode of Flix and a Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixandaSix@thespintune.com or tweet us at thespintune and tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
I'm Al Bielsa.
Thanks for coming out.